We value the Métis peoples that live and gather here, and we commit to upholding the respectful relationships these nations have built with the land, and we acknowledge our responsibility to carry that forward today and into the future. First order of business, 2 delegations. 2.1, we have Kyle MacDonald, President, and John Vetter, Director of Northern BC Crime Stoppers in attendance regarding the proclamation to declare January 2026 as Crime Stoppers Month in Dawson Creek.
Thanks, sir.
Welcome. Morning. All right. Whereas Northern BC Crime Stoppers Society is a nonprofit organization dedicated to serving communities across northern British Columbia. And whereas each January, Crime Stoppers programs worldwide observe Crime Stoppers Month to showcase their achievements and contributions. And whereas criminal activities such as drug trafficking, human trafficking, physical violence, property theft, organized crime, money laundering, and fraud threaten the safety and economic well-being of communities throughout northern British Columbia. And whereas in 2025, residents of northern British Columbia provided valuable tips that assisted law enforcement in preventing, solving, and reducing crime in our communities. And whereas the community safety is a shared responsibility, and programs like Crime Stoppers empower residents to take an active role in protecting their neighborhoods. Now, therefore, I, Darcy Dober, Mayor of the City of Dawson Creek, do hereby proclaim January 2026 as Crime Stoppers Month in the City of Dawson Creek and encourage all citizens to join me in recognizing and supporting this important initiative. So, yeah, I mean, this speaks volumes to what it is, but I just, it's nice to have both of you here to thank you both for the commitment to the contributions to the safety in the community, and not just Dawson Creek. I know the role that you've taken bringing this back to life in northern BC. So, you know, definitely appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
You got a lot on your plate, but you definitely put the region first, and it shows through your actions. So, and yeah, and John, you know, you've had many of years at pushing this forward. So, just this community is definitely grateful for your efforts, and not just with Crime Stoppers, with working with our local detachment in the whole region to really help. So, yeah, it's much appreciated, and I know there's a big volunteer group as well, so just please pass on a thank you to them as well, and an appreciation. So yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll pass this mic over to you.
All right, well, thank you very much. We super appreciate the City of Dawson Creek making the proclamation for us. Just a few stats we wanted to share today while we had the opportunity. Into 2025, we received over 980 tips across the north and central BC. From those 980 tips, we were able to help take $280,000 in property, drugs, cash out of the hands of the criminals that was all seized. 23 weapons were taken off the streets, and all those tips led to 9 arrests and three cases cleared. Can't speak today. Specifically in Dawson Creek and Fort St. John and the greater Peace Country, we had over 120 total tips for Dawson Creek in the Peace Country, including 50 tips that went to North District Major Crimes. So people are using the program here in the North Peace and the South Peace throughout the North British Columbia. It's effective. It works. We appreciate all the support we get. And, you know, we want to just highlight today because the South Peace District Crime Prevention Association, we host our charity golf tournament each year. And we just wanted to highlight our gold and platinum sponsors from this year. CETA being our platinum sponsor, MLA Neufeld, Co-op, Allen & Associates, ARC Resources, Urban Systems. With the help of these wonderful community-minded groups and individuals, we were able to donate $5,000 from South Peak District Crime Prevention Association directly to Northern BC Crime Stoppers, and it just shows in the numbers I've just shared what a difference it makes. So thank you to everyone, and on a personal note, Huge thanks to the gentleman to my right. Without John, I wouldn't be able to do half of what I do. John is a massive support. He's a massive volunteer in this community and deserves a pat on the back every day for what he does for Dawson Creek.
Yeah, agree. Thank you. Did you want to add anything, John? Or?
I'm good.
You're good, okay? Yeah. I'll just sign this here. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Different having you up here.
Right?
Yes, yeah. Always like nobody's here to take a picture. We'll just get rid of ourselves.
Yeah. Put a selfie.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, you bet.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
Super appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, John.
Thanks, sir.
All right, next order of business 2.2, we have Jeff Taylor, General Manager, and Dan Przybylski, Secretary, Treasurer, and Travis Jones, Cup Koi Director, with the Dawson Creek Senior Hockey Association in attendance regarding the request for funding for the Koi Cup Hockey Tournament on March 29th to April 4th, 2026. So, morning, gentlemen. And we'll turn that on, and there you go, the floor is all yours.
Excellent. Yeah, good morning. I'm Jeff Taylor with the Canucks, and this is Dan Przybylski. We are here looking for some support with the Koi Cup. It's going to be taking place March 31st, April 4th here in Dawson Creek. It is senior men's AA provincials. Consists of 4 teams. There's 14 other teams competing to make it in through their zone to compete for the tournament. We've never hosted it here in Dawson Creek. I think they tried one year, but some of the teams couldn't make it last minute. So this will be our first time hosting the tournament in town. We've won this cup 3 times in the past. It's been a while since we've won it. I think 3 or 4 years now. So we're looking forward to hosting it and bringing other teams to the community and hopefully winning it for Dawson Creek. Dan's going to talk a little bit about the economic impact here, and I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. It's as Jeff was relating, this is the first time Dawson will hold it. The Koi Cup actually has been competed in BC since 1922. So it's a fairly big deal that it's our turn, as they would say, because it usually goes on an 8-year rotation, and there's always been a reason we've lost our way in the rotation. So finally, we just bucked up and said, we're going to do it. And the age and the mix of the team that we have now, we're doing this for 2 people. We're doing this for the community. We want to bring the Koi Cup to town and show Dawson Creek some very good hockey, but also for the players that have put in 6, 8, 10 years with the team. This is for them a near last chance, to play at a provincial level. So we'd like to recognize the effort these guys have put in with the team as well. As Jeff spoke earlier, there's a fairly decent economic impact to the town. We're bringing 3 teams into town. Each of the teams are going to travel with somewhere between 25 and 30 people. They all stay in hotels. We're looking at hotels should see somewhere between a $45,000 and a $50,000 impact for the number of rooms, and that's using a base rate of $150 a night. Also, another $13,000 to $15,000 for the restaurants or eateries in town, because the tournament supplies no meals. One of the directives of the tournament is they want the communities to get as much impact as they can. So there's should be some pretty good impact for that. So because of that, we were hoping to get some support from the city. We understand there's some community service money around. So in lieu of our budget, which is around $65,000 to $80,000 for the entire tournament, if you guys could find, say, $3,500, that would give us a good start. It'll be the first money we put in the bank, so we'd like to make a nice splash that the first people that got us off on the tournament was the city hosting the tournament. With that, we will open for questions if you have any.
Excellent, perfect. Well, thank you very much. I'll open it up to council first for questions. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Worship. 104 years of Koi Cup. I had no idea. That's really impressive.
Yeah.
Honestly, right? That the history of that trophy's really amazing. You mentioned $3,500 donation. What type of advertising, et cetera, does the city get for that investment?
Well, other than a program, signs, like we'll have signage in the arenas, but we operate with a fairly tight budget. So it's, as far as, putting signage, bulletin boards around town, probably not, but a number of the places in town that have LED boards
Oh, yes.
will be putting stuff up. So we'll try and make it as visual as we can. We have a fairly, for a local Facebook page, we have we have some major following. We FaceTime all our hockey games. We average in the playoffs, we could have between 2,500 and 3,500 people across Canada and the States.
Wow.
So say like Marcel Coppel, our
Yeah.
head coach, his daughter and her sorority down in San Jose watch the games. Parents of players down in New Brunswick, Ontario, Tennessee, I think as far as Boca Raton, we have people watching the games.
Excellent.
We'll be doing some live stream stuff. We'll have programs. We'll probably have a banner, something up behind the net. Anything that we can do as far as visuals for the city of Dawson Creek, we'll certainly do that way. So,
Wonderful. Good luck with your tournament, guys.
thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
104 years. Actually, Johnny Bauer was one of the guys that won the Koi Cup back in those early years.
kidding,
So
eh?
it's pretty neat to see. His name.
Very
that's pretty
cool. Very cool.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you to our delegation. Just to be clear, you are looking for donation. You're not selling a sponsorship.
If that's how you, not knowing how
No, it's
not knowing
just-
how that.
Yeah, no, just for because sponsorship is basically you're selling advertising
Yeah.
versus a donation is we provide you money. If you choose to highlight that contribution in whatever way you do,
Oh, I
that's
see.
very
Okay.
much appreciated, but it's not a contracted obligation. Similarly, for a sponsorship, you'd send us an invoice with GST. We'd pay that invoice versus a donation. We provide you a check for the agreed upon amount, and that's
Yeah,
so.
we're uncertain
Okay.
how the mechanics of that money works.
Yeah.
So if it's only on a sponsorship basis, that's how we'll treat it.
No,
If it's-
the community grant fund it can be spent on either.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just based
Yeah.
on. I just want to follow up kind of on Councillor MacDonald because realistically,
Yep.
we have a pretty decent amount of signage in the event center anyway, and the Memorial Arena. So I'm not so much worried about that. But yeah, shout outs from the MC and stuff as you would for any sponsor would be appreciated. Is there any? I guess the term I heard from Ryan over there would be legacy opportunities for the city in conjunction with the event around some things for younger players to engage. See, I mean, I know it's probably a pretty tight schedule, but be it. Just curious, is there any kind of legacy component? Other than obviously you're the team and you've been here forever. But
Yeah, as far as say, like if a Hockey Canada event was in town, probably not.
Okay.
Other than for kids, it gives them an opportunity, especially local kids, to see that here's where they could rise to. Here's where hockey could take them. And that, if you look at the some of the players that have played in this tournament, I mean, we have a pretty decent number of players, both on our team and in the 3 teams that will be coming, that are ex-WHL, OHL, so the kids can get an idea of, if I'm playing hockey in town, where could I go after midgets? That, does my hockey career end with the Kodiaks? Well, no, this is where your hockey can keep you playing.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, Dan, you said the overall budget, did you say 65,000?
Depending on, because we have to reimburse travel for the team, so it depends on who's coming. But our budget can be somewhere between 65 to, it could be as high as 80 if all the teams are, it's Powell River, Terrace, like they're Roslyn. So which is one of the reasons we've always had a hard time getting to be host is we're pretty far away from everybody else. Yeah. And, how well can you put that much money aside? Just, even just paying travel expenses.
So travel expenses, does that include accommodation?
There is an accommodation component. So what we have to do is we reimburse the teams $2.25 a kilometer return from their home communities, and then we give them $1,000 a day for hotels. And those are all rates that are contracted with BC Hockey, so we don't have a lot to say, and it makes it tough developing a budget because you just don't know who's coming.
Yeah, when will you know?
Probably by the end of January, first week of February, because it depends when, say, the CIHL, the Central Interior Hockey League, when do they have their playoffs, so you know when they're coming. The other teams have to have qualifying terms because they have to play a certain number of games to qualify. So it depends when Powell River can get their 3 games in, or when Roslyn can get their games in, or Kamloops. So normally that first part of February, we'll have a better idea.
Right. Just one last question. So apart from asking different organizations to support this, what fundraising activities are the Canucks engaged in to raise money themselves?
Well, we're beating a fair amount of concrete. It's...
I mean, what I meant, are you having any raffles or special events?
We're going to be doing an online 50-50
Okay.
across the province, as well as little things as we can fit them in.
Yeah.
So it's by virtue of a lot of the like if you're doing the gaming grant thing, you can only get or apply for a certain percentage of your budget. So the challenge will be laid down when we know, how much we really have to come up with.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Councillor Apollonio?
Thank you, Your Worship. Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. Aside from the sponsorship or donation, are you looking for like volunteers or like how you will going to work on it?
We'll be having a volunteer worker drive probably starting in February. And we've had lots of people that have already come forward already. But February we'll start our volunteer drive.
But normally you have a good pool of people around you.
Yes. Yeah, we have a pretty solid base of workers. So whether that's security, scorekeepers, timekeepers, that kind of thing, we have a pretty solid base.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Apollonio. Any other councillors? I just had a few questions, I guess more comments too. I like Councillor MacDonald. I knew this was an old trophy, and I think one of the oldest ones in BC too. Yeah. So I appreciate you sharing how old it really is. So And then it's pretty neat to see that it's the first time here, because I think, like, I remember in the past, I thought it was here before, but it must have been just they were looking at it and they didn't come. So.
Yeah, we looked that up on the weekend, actually talking about it, and it was the Savage Cup that was here.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a play down for AAA for the Allen Cup. And so they were looking to host it one year, but unfortunately things fell apart. So it is our first time. So we're pretty excited about that. And we had the opportunity to bring the Koi Cup into City Hall when we did win it a few times there. And you guys got to have a look at how it doesn't hold anything in it anymore, and it's quite a sight to see. Actually, it's a cool trophy seeing guys, Johnny Bauer and guys like that on that trophy. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, I remember that actually. You left it here for a few days.
We did. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that it'll be here, right? And I guess, thank you to you guys too, and the whole organization, not just for keeping the program going. I know that there has been some tough times in the past, and there's been a big commitment from the group to keep it moving forward, but just also to bring this to our community. I know it's a lot of effort on your guys' part and everybody, so thank you. The game times during the week, is it mostly evening games, or are they kind of throughout that? Is it one a day or a couple a day? Or is it?
The tournament starts on a Tuesday, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is the round robin. So there's a game at 4:00 and a game at 7:30.
Okay.
And on Friday is a semifinal, and Saturday is the final. And those games are both just one at nighttime, 7:30. So it's a round robin. The bottom team's out. The top team gets a bye to the final, and the middle two play Friday in the semifinal.
Okay, nice. And then do you have any plans to do stuff with like the youth, like with the school districts and the private schools and homeschooling, like to get them?
We would like to do that if we could. Unfortunately, we can't do it. It's not during school time like they had at the Para Cup where they had the buses come over.
Yeah.
But we would like to do something with the school kids and try and get them into the rink, and we just haven't figured out exactly how we'll run that yet. But we'd certainly like to have minor hockey there, and get the kids in and let them see what this is all about.
Yeah, it was pretty phenomenal with the Hockey Canada events when you get the schools there. And I mean, it helps that they're during the day, right?
Yeah.
But to get them, I mean, when I can't remember if it was Councillor Earl or MacDonald that mentioned a legacy like that. Those to me are the legacies when you see those youth, right? Just the excitement that they get and see, like that's the stuff that lasts afterwards for years, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that was all I had. So the way this works is just later on in the agenda under mayor's updates, we deal with this business. So it'll be dealt with today, and then somebody from the city will let you know either way how that works. But and then just thank you. And I guess one other just last note, I know that you guys did put a request in for the regional district for their grant funding, but obviously it's not an international event, so it didn't qualify. But it might be worth reaching out to the director of this area as well, because he might have some room in his, like they have separate budgets for each area, but it might be just a thought to reach out to him as well. But yeah, no, thank you guys for coming in and meeting today, and thanks Jeff for coming in a couple weeks or talking a couple weeks ago. And
no problem.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And,
No, we certainly appreciate the support. We've got a great community behind us, and we got a beautiful facility to play in. And we appreciate you guys' support and the staff around the rink too. It's going good so far for us this year in our league as well. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. And yeah, it's such a great opportunity to showcase everything, right? When we can get these teams from other parts of our province up here to see our facilities and the community and the people, right? You said you have a community. Like, I mean, that's what makes this community what it is our people. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for not kicking in the ejector seat.
Yeah. It was our fault that it went over 10 minutes. So enjoy the day.
Thank you.
You bet. All right, next order of business 2.3, we have Taylor Mills, Executive Director, and Kit Vast, President of South Peace Art Society, in attendance regarding the request for additional funding. So, good morning.
Good morning.
Mic is on, so the floor is all yours.
Yes. I'll have to move it down. I'm very soft-spoken. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us. Again, I'm Taylor, and this is our curator at the gallery, Kit Fast. Sorry. So I want to just start off kind of explaining why we are here today. So essentially, my board of directors, myself, and the gallery staff as a whole, we want to ensure that we're being financially responsible and that we're getting ahead of the problem before we actually start with program closures and drawbacks. So while we have been quite optimistic and we dialed back our operations, which you've seen in the past year, which we didn't, we dialed back our operating hours in the summer, we didn't hire any additional summer students. We did it to the best of our ability, but the reality is the gallery will be facing a financial crisis going forward. On the screen here, I think, did I skip a slide? Oh, there we go. So I did provide 2022 and 2023's financial fundings. This kind of demonstrates our last full proper year of operations and the last full year of fundings that we received. So on here, you can see in 2022, we received $185,000 in grants. That is consolidated with our fee for service from the city, our employment grants that we got from Young Canada Works and Canada Summer Jobs, and then additional grants such as the Vancouver Foundation, which was a COVID resiliency grant, and as well as some BCAC grants. And again, in 2023, you see that we had $177,000 there. And then on top, we had our BC Gaming grants, which was, it's on average around $52,200. It was a little higher in 2023, but I believe they added a little bit on as a temporary for a program that was being run at that time. And then you can see at the end of the year, we ended with a little bit of a surplus, nothing drastic, but as you can see, to run the full operations for a year, it did balance out quite well. Now, if you kind of take a look into our most recent year, then this is unofficial as we do have some expenses that are not in this yet. Our financial statements for the bank did not come out until this week, so this was sent in prior to that. But as you can see, I've highlighted our grants. Now, it's showing around $14,000. I really want to discuss that here because the fee for service is on a separate line. This isn't condensed like the other one was. So in addition, we have our fee for service there of the $21,102. And then again, our BC gaming grant of $54,400. Another thing that I want to note in here is that our COVID resiliency grant that was supposed to have a third installment in 2025 actually didn't come in until last week for our 2026 year. We go year by year with our financials, so we're applying that grant to 2026. So it would have been in this lump sum of grants, but unfortunately it came later. And then also we didn't get our employment grants this year. You will see an employment grant on the line. However, that was a late payment for 2024 and should have been applied to that year. We just have to update this in our system with our new bookkeeper. But overall, that's why you're seeing such a drastic number in comparison to other years. But you can see that we do have the fee for service and BC Gaming grant on other lines here, showing that we're ending the year in quite a heavy deficit, around $87,000. So a bit of a harder year. We did dial back significantly. So if you look at our older financials versus this year and what we're spending in our exhibitions and our programs, we've dialed back significantly, but still we're facing a financial crisis. So I want to kind of, now that you have like a snapshot of our financials, where we're sitting and what is essentially happening, I want to give you a rundown of our operations. This won't come as a surprise to you. I presented a lot of our programs before, so I'll try to quickly go through it, but I really want to show you the people that we are supporting. So the gallery has two main purposes, and the first purpose is supporting and engaging the community as a whole. That is our main purpose that we do on a regular basis, and that's our core operations. And then secondly, we support and develop artists professionally. So kind of segueing into that, I want to show you our youth programming. Our youth programming is one program that we're extremely proud of. Each year, we create over 200 art packages that we give out to the community. We support over 3,000 youth in this program each year. We have about 300 students come through field trips. We have about 10 class visits annually from daycares and our kindergarten kids going through self-led kind of tours of the gallery with their teachers on a little bit of a lower level for them to experience the art. We also offer 5 classes a week, and as well in the summer. We used to offer a little more, but again, we had a drawback this year, and we would like to be able to offer the 2 classes a week in the summer, going for 80 classes, but this year we did the 40. Also, in addition to that, we had around 1,286 unique heads come through the program. So a lot of our students repeat, but in total we had 1,286 kids who are repeating through the program. So that kind of gives you the 3,000, but that's kind of where it's at. And then as you can see on the screen here, we have some of our wonderful youth showcasing their work. The purpose of the youth programming is to enhance artistic literacy in our youth, foster that love for the arts, build long-lasting relationships with the arts, and also build those connections between their peers and social emotional well-being. Art is essential for mental health. It's a positive outlet for our youth, and fostering at a young age will give them those skills to take into the future with them. Next, we have our exhibitions. So each year we hold about 16 exhibitions. We help and represent the work of around 300 regional artists each year, showcasing over 900 pieces of work in all imaginable art forms. And these artists range in experience from beginner to professional and from young to old. And speaking of that, this is probably one of our most amazing exhibitions. This is Young Creatives. So Young Creatives is our youth show. As you can see, we have schools from School District 59, which includes Dawson Creek, Chetwynd, our homeschool community, and our very own youth programming at the gallery. This gives our youth an opportunity to participate in an exhibition show at the gallery, have their parents come and their peers for an opening, sell their pieces, show how proud they are, and fostering that love for the arts at a very young age. This is one of our most highly attended exhibitions and is one that we're extremely proud of. But with our exhibitions, we also support artists within the region. So that happens through our 2 main membership shows per year, our winter and our summer membership, where our members can input 5 pieces each time around. And I would like to show you 2 artists today that participate in our membership shows. Oh, and before I move on, I apologize. This is Sophia Matson. This is a youth in our Young Creatives with her piece, and it was quite a lovely piece. And then here for our membership show, we have Don McNabb with his beautiful piece of Downtown Dawson Creek. And then we have the lovely Emily Matson with her beautiful piece as well. So through our exhibitions, we support artists in displaying their work. And then for those who would like to continue and grow professionally, we offer opportunities to support that through paid shows as well. Then they can use to enhance their portfolios, which will then open the door for other shows throughout the region and then essentially throughout the world as well. So this is an example that can be with Samantha Wigglesworth. Samantha is a queer, non-binary, genderqueer contemporary representational artist in BC, Canada. Samantha was our artist in residence in a previous year with their show called Vulnerably Visible. It was a paid opportunity with Carfax fees provided, which in turn allowed them to add this onto their portfolio, and they had a professional exhibition at our gallery, and then they would be able to show in other locations as well. Samantha recently showed in a solo show in Kelowna, which was called Existence and Resistance. Another artist I would like to highlight is Mary Modisha. She is not only a professional artist who has displayed in the gallery on a variety of occasions, but she's also one of our most dedicated volunteers, showing that we are building really positive relationships with our artists, and in turn fostering a relationship where we kind of support one another. And she helps set up a lot of shows with our curator on a regular basis. And she also had an artist talk in 2025 where she gave back to the community, giving insight into her creative processes and the techniques that she used. I want to note that offering paid shows is very critical in supporting and developing our artists with their professional growth. And thanks to our previous funders such as BCAC, the Vancouver Foundation, and the Province of British Columbia, we were able to partner with organizations such as Nowakin and the Grand Prairie Art Gallery to offer these paid shows and allow artists to show within the region. Additionally, paying for professional fees for artists not only benefits the artist, but it also benefits our gallery as well, We are working diligently to try and obtain operational funding with BCAC, and it is a requirement that we pay artists professionally in order to even qualify for their operational funding. So we have been working diligently over the past few years to get that professional status. Next, we have our framing department, a very important service that we offer to the community and to our artists. Paige has developed a lot of strong relationships with our artists. She helps them stretch, frame, display their work in a professional way, but she also works within the budget of the individual, ensuring all individuals can access her services. And then finally, we have our artist and gift shop. This offers artists an opportunity to sell their work, and we offer a 75-25 split for our members. So that regardless of background, all artists can actually access and sell their artwork without substantially losing on their profits. And we're proud to be offering one of the lowest consignment rates in the region. And so this individual here is Pratik. He is one of our current artisans. He has some beautiful work. If you haven't seen it at the gallery, come take a look. We have a few on the wall right now. So now that I've kind of talked about our core programs, I'm going to hop into our ways that we support with professional growth.
Taylor, just want to keep the time
Yeah,
in mind too.
sure.
I want to have some room for council, but definitely take a couple minutes to wrap up. But I know
Yeah.
we're halfway
I'll quickly go
this,
through
so-
it. I won't dwell on that. So we have for an artist in residence program where we allow artists to work with a mentor and then have a paid show in the end. This is one artist in residence individual, Nathan Scott, in 2023. And then again, Haley Bassett, who went on to mentor later on in our program. We offer workshops as well with different instructors who are really a professional in their craft, such as these pottery workshops with Dory Braun. And then also we partner with KPAC to do an Indigenous Day workshop with an Indigenous artist who comes into the gallery. We host events as well, such as 2 fundraising events, such as the art auction and our brush royale, and then our haunted elevator. But it can't be done without the support of our sponsors and donors, such as Dave Snowfrill. He always donates the candy, and it's quite a bonus to add that for the kids. We give about 400 kids candy each year.
Excellent.
So this is all leading to our funding constraints. So to do everything that we do at the gallery at the capacity that we do, we require grant funding to do that. And it's no surprise that our biggest limitation will be funding, because as an organization, we have grown to ensure that we can support the growing art community. So once a team of 2, roughly about 7 years ago, over the years, we've grown to a team of 6 with 3 part-time and 3 full-time staff members. So staffing costs is one of our largest expenses. However, it is critical to offer what we do at the capacity that we are currently doing. But unfortunately, as you can see, there's no more COVID grants. The funding pools are oversaturated, and obtaining even employment grants are becoming seemingly difficult. And we are now in a place where we are not able to offer what we can, and we're going to be drawing back on our operations. Quickly here, so anything in red, I'll just let you know what that means. It's either grants we can no longer consider stable and can guarantee, and then our donations vary depending on the walkthrough that we get. So as you can see, these are our actuals for our last full year, and these are the fundings we will either be losing or we can't guarantee, like our donations and fundraising, because that varies. Again, our exhibition, yellow is, again, a portion of that goes to pay our artists as we offer a split. This is one of our main touring exhibitions, kind of, with our art walk, where we partner with business, and you can walk around and tour the art in the community. It supports our tourist population, the artists, and the businesses. This will probably be the first program to go because it is heavily reliant on our funding. And then our gift shop, being able to have that open during operating hours. We need a staff member present. Also, in our summer months, our foot traffic increases. And as you can see, these are the fundings that we will be potentially no longer be able to guarantee. And then just because I know there might be some questions surrounding our actual financials, I gave a little bit of a snapshot here. I called funding semi-guaranteed because our only one that is guaranteed is our fee-for-service, which is $21,102 that we have been receiving for that amount about 12 years. But we are extremely grateful for this because it is essential, as you can see, to host our operations. And then BC Community Gaming, I call semi-guaranteed because, again, it is a grant. You go through a grant process. We have been successful, but you have to know there's always room for error, and you could potentially lose it. But at this time, we have been able to keep that as stable. And we have our restricted funds as well, which you will see when you get our financials this year. The Wonka account is a restricted fund. It was donated by William Wonka in 1992 for an expansion, like an annex, and has to be used for that purpose and requires board permission to remove it to use it. And then essentially our savings account. So to remain financially responsible, we like to ensure that we have savings aside that we can pull in case of an emergency if we do have to close the gallery doors. This will allow us to be able to operate and phase out appropriately without it being abrupt and causing financial constraint on our employees. We can draw from that account with board approval, but it is better to put that money back to ensure that we have that safety net and to ensure that we are just being financially responsible overall. That leads me to kind of the ask for today is to have the city consider providing operational funding. At this time, we provide a lot to the community, but we're not going to be able to continue to do that at the capacity that we do. And as you can see, that amount of operational funding that we need to removing our fee for service and the BC Gaming is around $120,000 per year. We were optimistic, but unfortunately, the reality is funding is not stable anymore. And thank you so much for listening to me today. I'm sorry it went a little longer, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
No, thank you very much for presenting, and that's fine that it went a little longer. That's fine, Taylor. We appreciate all the information, so I'll open this up to council for questions. Ready? Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. I don't really have a question per se, but I just want to say thank you for what you guys do for the community. All three of my children have gone through the youth art camps during the summer and throughout the year, and they've always been wonderful. So just thank you for what you do for the community.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, there's a lot I could say, but because of time, I just want to point out a few things. The fee for service has remained at its constant figure since, you said, a dozen years?
Yes.
So it hasn't been adjusted by any inflation, et cetera, et cetera.
No, it has not.
You're not the only organization that's been affected by a reduction in grants. And we look at the economic situation, I think that's going to continue.
Yes.
So I don't think this is a passing phase.
No.
Other organizations I'm familiar with experiencing serious considerations. Another thing that this council will not be aware of, because they were, I don't, with the exception possibly of my colleague Jeremy, the city some years ago completely cut a $15,000 grant, which was administered indirectly, but through a person linked to the art gallery in support of all the art organizations in this community. Mm-hmm. In doing that, the 15,000 grant, I'm using figures that I recall, they may not be actually accurate, it might have been 18,000, but we lost a matching grant from the BC Arts Council. Mm-hmm. So that has been another blow to the arts community.
Yes.
So my position, or just one other thing, you know, we've got a lot to be pleased with, and we've got lots of challenges as a community. But I just want to emphasize a few things. The art gallery is an iconic building.
It is.
Throughout the piece. It is talked about by other artists in Grand Prairie, Setsmith, Peace River, Fort St. John, and so on. It's the best gallery in the piece. With the exception of the Art Gallery of Grand Prairie, which is another completely different. But as a community gallery, it is exceptional. And the staff are highly considered. We have a good reputation thanks to the staff. And the city has really stepped up and maintained that building.
Yes.
In an exemplary way, and through the initiative of people at the Art Gallery and partnerships with the city, we've now got improved wheelchair access.
Yes.
It is a major tourist attraction, and it's strategically located. So the building and the staff are exemplary. The funding is the issue.
Yes.
And the city, to my colleagues and to staff, the city needs to really think, well, what do they want the art gallery to do, to deliver? Because what you're saying is that the art gallery cannot continue to deliver what it has done because of this grant problem, which, my opinion, it's only my opinion, but I don't see anything changing in the near future. And I am concerned that a grant fee for service has not been adjusted at all. So really, one of the things that is a struggle for many communities is really maintaining a good quality of life for all. We have some exemplary facilities thanks to staff initiative and the council's support of it. The Memorial Arena is now top-notch. We have a multiplex that is, whilst it's costly, is the envy of many, many northern communities. But we've got, in my view, have a balanced approach. Quality of life for many is through culture, through creative endeavors. And I think, so I'm just projecting that if you didn't have an improvement in your funding level, the art gallery would not operate as often as it does, and there'd be show curtailments and program curtailments.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Councillor
you.
Barzal. Any other comments? I have a few. I guess
Yes.
first, I want to thank you for coming today, and thank you for just the commitment to our community and region, and what yourself and the whole team there and the board does, because it's definitely an asset. The arts and culture is a big part of who we are as a community, and it's phenomenal to see how much youth is involved, and it's very exciting to see. So I just want to thank you for that. So I do have a couple questions. Do you know what percentage of your users are from the city of Dawson Creek versus the regional district, or rural residents?
I don't know offhand. If you're referring to the requirements for the regional district grants, I know we meet those requirements, but I know that funding with them, we unfortunately don't qualify.
No.
No.
And do you know why?
We're not considered a regional gallery. We do need to kind of gather that support and be labeled as a regional gallery to kind of get that support. I do plan on reaching out to speak with them to see how we can kind of go about getting that recognized and getting some funding support through them. But we did apply for a grant last year and we were denied.
Yeah, okay. And I mean, I asked for a couple reasons. One, for my own knowledge, and I think for this council, it would be nice to know how many of your members come within the city limits. The other is we do have a sub-regional recreation function with the regional district, and the city Dawson Creek spends just under $10 million a year in recreation.
Oh, wow.
Our facilities are used 40% by outside of the city limits, and we receive $1 million from the regional district, so we get 10% contribution. So that, one, it's a bit of an education for everybody to understand that, but two, it just shows the pressures that we face on this side from our city, because we have to make up the rest of that, not just for the art gallery, but for our arenas, our pool, our event center, the KPAC center, library, our parks, all those facilities that are used regionally.
Yes.
We are in a constant struggle with that to try and make that up, because the city taxpayers cover the burden of that.
Yes.
So it's important. So it's one of the struggles we face. We're also seeing these grants dry up from other levels of government that are putting a lot of pressure on organizations, and so we're seeing that at all angles coming at us. So it's tough, right? Because we want to do what's right for our city, and this council and this city team is very focused on doing what's right for the region. We're about putting everybody, the whole region first. It's not just about the city, but the reality is that we face those pressures, and because of the situation we're in, it makes it tough for us to make these decisions. I wanted to ask that. The other, I guess the ask.
Yes.
So is the ask 87,000 or is it $120,000?
120.
120,000. Okay.
Yeah, because that would be what would be our operational funding to cover what we're kind of losing now with grants.
Okay. So then I think I know the answer to this, but if we don't have room for that and we couldn't do it, what does that mean? Does it mean all those services that you just showed us for 2026 will not happen? Is that kind of?
Not entirely. We will draw back quite significantly. So you will see probably the touring art walk would be the first one to go. We would cut that out completely to save on cost, and then probably we would have to draw back our youth programming a little bit as well, and then mostly. Offering less classes, just kind of drawing back where we can. But those would be the two avenues we would look at first, because we can't really draw back too much on our exhibitions. It's what draws people in, and that's what keeps foot traffic coming and donations coming through. And while our youth population is extremely important, we'll probably have to pull that a little.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And I just asked not because I'm not in support of the art
course.
gallery and what it does. It's just, realizing what comes with that. So. Okay, I did notice too, I want to thank, just looking through your financials, it's very clear that you, the board and yourself have made some substantial changes in there, even from wages going from 270 one year to 220. You can see that you're not just out, asking for something to keep things as is, that you're committed and you're making changes there as well. And okay. I see that there's Councillor Apollonio.
Sorry, Your Worship. Taylor. Okay. Thank you very much for coming, Taylor. And of course, Kate, I saw your face that you are really passionate about this, and of course, the burden in your shoulder. So I just want to ask, because I'm looking at the financials, what is the live event? Because there's a zero, so maybe there's a possible there.
Unfortunately, we had to, we used to have what was called home routes. We had to let that contract go to another organization in town that was able to take it on a little more. So Lee's Family Restaurant actually does it now. So we don't host those live events like we have in the past. Instead, we have offer a little bit of live music here and there. It's in our exhibition cost now, but at a very smaller scale. So we aren't able to support a lot of our musical clientele right now.
Yeah, about musical. Yeah, because I saw that there's a lot of music going on. So I like the summer.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying live events. So maybe it's like a good festival fundraising. So.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Apollonio. Councillor Parslow.
Just something was said here that really annoys me. Not what you said, but what you were told. So the regional district does not consider the Dawson Creek Gallery to be a regional art gallery.
Yes.
So many of the artists that you showed on your presentation are rural residents. So would a name change do it if we said Dawson Creek and Area Art Gallery? Would that suddenly make a difference to these regional district people? I mean,
Yeah.
this is just blows my mind away. This nonsense from our regional district people. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Is there any other comments?
Your Worship,
Yeah.
just one quick clarifying question, just to Taylor. Just, I believe in September we had a request for an additional $18,000. I'm just
Yes.
curious if this 18 plus the request today, or is?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in. We appreciate you taking the time to present, and
Thank you.
obviously not under the best circumstances, but we still appreciate you coming in and showcasing what the art gallery does. And yeah, so thank you.
And thank you so much for taking the time today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just going to call a break here. Monday, January 12th, 2026. Next order of business was 2.4. We have Serena Embree, Executive Director, Jibin, Boban, Chair, Caitlyn, Triebel, and Adam DeRose, and Kevin Kurjata, board members at the Kiwanis Performing Arts Society, and attendance regarding the Kiwanis Performing Arts Center strategic plan. So, good morning and welcome to all of you.
Good morning.
The mic is on and the floor is all yours.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. My name's Serena Embree. I'm the new Executive Director at KPAC, and I am here today with Adam DeRose, who is our newly elected Chair of the Kiwanis Arts Center Society, along with Jibin Boban, who's staying on as Vice Chair, Caitlyn Triebel, and Kevin Kurjata, who are both Directors. So we are here to present our strategic plan for 2026, but we'd also like to share how we've evolved, the work we've done to stabilize and improve operations, and the areas where support will allow us to fully activate our facility spaces for arts and community. So this time last year, our organization was in a very different position than it is today. We were facing a crisis faced by a combination of factors that left us needing to approach the city of Dawson Creek for support just to pay our staff. Problems had been building over time and reached a breaking point, requiring both staff and board members to step into crisis management mode. Together, they worked to get the organization back on track, bring costs under control, and address challenges at a level beyond what is normally expected of volunteer boards or operations staff. This included completing a payroll audit with the CRA, which revealed a significant debt, and filling a leadership gap that persisted for most of the fiscal year. Since then, things have changed dramatically. Our operations are stable, costs are under control, and the debt is nearly resolved. Only one board member from last year did not return when their term ended, which speaks to the dedication of those who gave so much to guide KPAC through challenging times. Our expanded board brings an indescribably valuable wealth of knowledge, education, and professional experience in the arts, business leadership, and community engagement. This leadership team is focused on getting to the root of past challenges, strengthening what works, and overhauling systems that don't. While significant challenges remain, the board has the skill, experience, and dedication needed to tackle them and make meaningful improvements to how KPAC operates. Our strategic plan is going to grow and shift as we bring our collective heads together, but our 2026 strategic goals have been identified through personal experience with KPAC, as it was, feedback from our users, and conversations with you. So we can move on to the next slide. Here's the agenda for the presentation. You can see there's a decent amount of stuff on there to cover, so I will just get to it. We can go on to the next one. So, as you all know, we have a unique situation with a dual mandate as both a community performing arts center and a licensed childcare center. This plan is based on clarifying both mandates and creating distinction and connection between them. So, next one. Our strategic goals for 2026. Governance reset and organizational clarity, operational separation, recentering KPAC as a performing arts destination, purposeful integration of arts and early childhood care, and the strategic space stewardship, optimization, and revenue generation. So we are intentionally treating this as a one-year framework with a more detailed 5-year plan to follow later in the year. We want to give our new board members time to get up to speed, understand the organization, and meaningfully contribute their valuable insight before we lock in long-term direction. So our first goal is governance reset and achieving real organizational clarity. And we can go on to the next one. So that's strengthening board leadership and accountability. So this was partially learned from experience, partially derived from feedback that we got from the community and council, and just common sense. So the people on this board bring a shared commitment to active participation in developing the sustainable framework that will act as both a map and guardrail for this and future boards. We'll start by developing policies that define the board's responsibilities in overseeing this operation with supporting procedure documentation to guide practical application. This will include an updated terms of reference and committee mandates. And there's no better team building exercise than a crisis, and this past year has instilled in this board a shared commitment to continuous learning. The resources available to nonprofit boards are endless, but we are going to start by working with the Chamber of Commerce and setting up some sessions with them. And this board also sees collaboration with our community as key, and we're taking a partnered approach with both the City of Dawson Creek and the arts groups that should be actively involved in deciding what KPAC does. The Calvin Crux Centre for the Arts needs to play a vital role in supporting the arts in Dawson Creek, and we need to support that by facilitating access and sharing resources, as well as ensuring that what we are pulling towards aligns with the city's goals of a vibrant downtown and drawing event tourism. So the next slide is about some actions that we're going to be taking. Sorry for the text is very small, but in the interest of time, I'm going to skip through that. So we can move on to the next goal, which is operational separation. And this is, we can move on to the next one there too. Distinct operations, but shared infrastructure. So we need to separate the arts center and the daycare into two fully independent operations, and that is our top priority. At the same time, we have to be realistic about what that process involves and how long it's going to take to do it properly. So if you move on to the next slide, there's a timeline. So we want to have, at least on paper and internally, a fully separated organization with a new chart of accounts that helps us figure out where everything stands financially, as well as build some internal operating agreements that show where the daycare is funding the arts center and vice versa. So the goal is to have this rolled out for the next fiscal year so that we can move forward completely clear on where each part of the organization stands. So we can move on to the next one there. Long-term implementation involves quite a lot more in-depth work, so we can skip through that right now. The third goal here is recentering KPAC as a performing arts destination while expanding visual arts focus. And this is one of the key things. I know that this organization has been really focused on the daycare, which is the most stable part of and the most revenue generating part of the organization. But this is who we are and where we should be moving towards. So if we can move on to the next one. So recentering KPAC for audiences and artists. We'll be reviving the successful Live at KPAC series. Key element of this revival is removing the financial barriers placed on local artists by making them rent our facility, which makes our stage an accessible and welcoming venue for local talent. And this approach connects directly to the benefits offered through our new membership program. On the visual arts side, we'll be working with the guilds and artists who already rent our spaces to develop programming that opens the doors to public participation. We've already worked with Kayleigh Oldershaw, who rents our visual art studio, on some successful oil painting workshops and have two fundamental art classes, our art fundamentals classes coming up. We're also collaborating with the art gallery on an exciting new initiative, and we'll be identifying additional gallery spaces within the building to provide them with more showcase options. Our membership program is a major opportunity to invite the community back in and keep them engaged. By removing barriers to participation, building an online member portal with direct access to booking and programming options, and launching a monthly newsletter for members, we can keep them informed about board meetings, events, and volunteer opportunities, which keeps them in the loop and part of the story. Do I not? Oh, there we go. Okay. So programming focus, this slide talks about some of the actions we're going to take to increase our programming focus and recenter ourselves. But that will be a 10-minute slide just in itself. So our next goal is purposeful integration of arts in early childhood care. And we've already made some significant progress on this one. We have a performing arts program started for the daycare kids that is going to be starting, I think, next month. We have several kids lined up for it already, and Allie Cox, who is a KPAC alumni, will be teaching it in conjunction with the daycare staff. So arts enriched childcare is going to be the mandate for the daycare going forward, and that means connecting the two mandates of integrating performing arts into the daycare to make sure that while we are still a licensed childcare facility, we are providing an enriched experience that is more than just your average childcare. The fifth goal is strategic space stewardship, optimization, and revenue generation. And we think that this is one of the key areas that has some exciting opportunities. We see significant opportunity within our existing footprint. There are spaces in the building that could be used differently to create greater impact, both programmatically and financially. We see areas where targeted capital projects could transform how spaces function entirely. In addition, we're beginning to look at space usage through a social enterprise lens, identifying opportunities where our facilities can generate sustainable revenue while still aligning with our mandate, and it's key, which is key to long-term financial health. This goal is about being intentional, creative, and responsible stewards of the space we already have. So, reimagining the spaces and how we're using them is been a really exciting project. We're identifying different revenue opportunities that where we could add things to the existing spaces to make them an area where the community wants to come in. And future planning, which is we need a clear long-term strategy to return the daycare to its fully intended side of the building, or examine if this building can meet the needs of the daycare long-term. Every space planning decision we make from this point forward will be evaluated based on how it supports that goal, and every planning question will consider this very important consideration. This approach allows us to strengthen the Performing Arts Centre, create new revenue opportunities, and protect and properly plan for childcare capacity at the same time. So, that is a duplicate slide. So why funding matters. This goes back to, this connects with what Taylor was saying. This is obviously something that the arts are facing in the entire country right now. With going back to the beginning of this presentation, CAPAC ended up with a significant debt owing to the Canada Revenue Agency related to missed payroll remittances. And the reality is that our biggest and most important monthly obligation is payroll. Paying our staff correctly and on time is non-negotiable, and we're deeply grateful that the City of Dawson Creek agrees with that statement. And at the same time, CAPAC operates with very limited operational margins. While we're currently stable, the revenue we generate barely covers base operational costs, leaving little buffer for fluctuations in expenses or unexpected liabilities. Because we're largely reliant on earned or grant revenue, we spend a disproportionate amount of time planning projects and sourcing funding just to cover basic costs. That time is not spent on programming, community engagement, or making any of the strategic goals I've outlined here a reality. Our current funding environment looks like this. We receive property tax relief, an $8,000 annual offset towards liability insurance, and our $1 per year lease from the City of Dawson Creek. We pay our 15% operating costs that the other groups that also rent city facilities pay. And in a building as large as ours, those costs exceeded $45,000 in 2024 and 25. So every dollar for administration, every wage and payroll remittance needs to be covered by the revenue we generate through daycare operations and arts programming. The grants we're successful in receiving through the Community Giving Grant and Provincial Childcare Operating Funds, and the generosity of individuals and companies who donate to us. As a registered charity, fundraising will be one of our key priorities once we complete the internal administrative reset we're undertaking. Right now, however, we're trying to deal with the operational shortfalls created by paying down our debt and having far fewer administrative staff than we need. Our 3 core office staff are currently doing the work of what should be 5 people. It's important to contextualize this within the broader sector. Across Canada, arts and culture organizations almost always rely on public funding as a core part of their budget. Research looking at art charities shows that on average about 36% of annual revenue comes from all levels of government, with the remainder coming from self-generated revenue and private sources. In practice, publicly funded arts organizations in Canada and elsewhere are dependent on annual operating grants, municipal and provincial support, and consistent multi-year funding to plan, create, and present work that serves the public. Without that base funding, organizations are forced into a constant cycle of short-term planning that puts stability, jobs, and artistic programming at risk. It's for this reason that operational funding matters so much. Without a reliable public funding base, community arts centres like ours will continue to struggle to meet payroll obligations, retain staff, invest in programming, and stabilize our future while we watch our strategic plans collect dust. So funded community arts. The first impact is increased capacity. With adequate operational funding, we can staff the organization properly. More staff means we can offer more programs, manage the facility more effectively, and respond to community needs in a timely way. It also means creating local jobs in program facilitation, arts administration, technical production, education, and programming. For leadership, it frees up my time to focus not only on the strategic priorities I've outlined today, but the greater 5-year plan the board and I will be working on. I can focus on partnership, development, and fundraising rather than spending the majority of my time writing grants and supporting staff in daily operations. The second impact is increased programming. When programming is no longer expected to subsidize core operations, the revenue it generates can be reinvested back into programming itself. This allows us to expand offerings, pilot new ideas, respond to community demand, and support local artists and instructors more effectively. It also creates a healthier cycle where successful programs strengthen the overall arts ecosystem rather than simply covering overhead. Third impact is the ability to move forward on planning capital projects. With stable funding in place, we can focus on designing facility improvements that address long-standing space challenges, improve accessibility, and create new revenue-generating areas. These types of investments are critical to long-term sustainability and cannot be meaningfully planned while all available energy is directed towards short-term survival. Beyond these three areas, stable funding also improves consistency and reliability. It allows us to plan beyond a single season, retain and develop skilled staff, and strengthen partnerships and build public trust. Funded community arts add value to the municipality as a tourism and relocation destination and breathes life into one of the coolest places in town. So in summary, we've outlined what we see as a realistic path forward for CAPAC for the next year. We've acknowledged where the organization was, the steps already taken to stabilize governance and operations, and the strategic priorities that will guide us through 2026. These priorities focus on strong governance, operational separation, revitalized performing and visual arts programming, purposeful integration of arts and childcare, and responsible creative stewardship of our facility. With sustainable funding in place, these strategies translate into measurable community outcomes: increased access to arts programming, more consistent and diverse events on our stage, stronger support for local artists and instructors, stable childcare spaces that support working families, and the creation of local jobs. They also allow us to improve facility use, grow earned revenue responsibly, and invest in capital projects that solve long-standing space challenges. More importantly, this approach positions CAPAC as a stable, accountable, and responsive community asset that aligns with the city's arts and culture goals, contributes to the local economy, and becomes the cornerstone of our vibrant downtown. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Serena, for the presentation and all the information. I will pass this on to Council. Councillor Parslow.
So there's lots of things we could talk about, but this isn't the setting for it, perhaps. So what's the status of the $70,000 loan that CAPAC received last year?
So in our meeting we had in October, we had money set aside from the Vancouver Foundation to pay that off. And it was put to us that we should hold off on that until our strategic planning was done, and we had more of a stable situation going forward that would not put us right back in the same situation that we were in last year. So what we've identified since then is we could pay the city of Dawson Creek about $3,100 a month, which would be basically 1/12 of half of that, which realistically we could be twice at that in order to pay it off within the 2-year framework that was in the original contract. If that's something that we want to start doing, then we can move forward on that. So that was, we wanted to hear from council and get your perspective on our plan and the idea that CAPAC as a community arts center is going to continue to struggle with the same challenges given its the number of things it can control right now. So
yes, so it's a decision point that you're saying that council should determine.
yes.
Okay. Thank you. Just a few things. There's many, but I just picked out a few things here. One of the best, if I can use a metaphor from sports, the best defense is a strong offense. in the world of services to community, I think the analogy is having a strong, compelling vision that draws us through troubled times and good times. The city owns KPAC. KPAC was built to use that location as an economic development driver for downtown Dawson Creek. So somehow measures need to be inputted so that we can see, well, what are the outputs that is aligned with that one of their primary reasons for using an old post office building as a cultural center. You may not know this, but just recently there was a major article in the BBC News about investment in the arts. And the island did an experiment, and they took a random group of artists who were not professional artists, they were emerging artists, and they paid them a living wage. And then they had another group where they were sort of a test group, where they gave them no funding. The net is that if you do that, if you incubate the arts, it's a tremendous economic development driver. For every euro that was invested through that living wage subsidy, it generated 90% additional revenue in the community. So I just want to throw out in the notion of KPAC incubating the arts. I think there's a real problem with the name KPAC. I think because we have had some chats, certainly it was envisaged as a cultural center. And I'm not sure really what is the official name. Is it Kiwanis Performing Arts Center? Or is it the Calvin Cook Cultural Center? Or should it be renamed as the South Peace Regional Cultural Center? I'm throwing that out.
We're open to ideas.
Yeah, yes, I know you are. I know you are, for sure. But seriously, the arts matter. Mm-hmm. And I feel very strongly, as council considers all these matters, that we should recognize if we wish to attract and retain professionals, we better have a strong cultural program. We have two of the finest physical assets you can find, I'm going to say probably in most small communities, the art gallery and whatever we're calling this downtown cultural center. But really, the arts can be a major economic driver. It can also be a major tourist attraction. And so I appreciate many of the points that you presented. I don't know if I might go further with a few of them as it relates to the separation of daycare and the arts, culture, and so on. What else do they want to say here? Yeah, I've often thought, as I said, the arts need to be put on the same platform as we do the sports. We wouldn't expect our hockey to be dependent on grants to function. The multiplex, the swimming pool. So I think there's a real different standards that we operate under that shouldn't be there. But as the mayor has said, there's a reality. We spend $10 million on recreation in its broad sense. We have a fine array of recreational activities here, but they do cost money to operate, and we struggle for a fair, equitable approach, because I bet you, as the mayor said, 40%, I bet you, same for our recreation, if you did an analysis of, if you set apart daycare, the rest of it would be about the same. So I really do think a name change is something we should consider seriously.
We have discussed it, and it is something that I think needs to have some serious branding workshops done on it, and thinking about what the city needs to see from this facility, as well as where we want to be in that in 5 years. So,
Thank you.
One last point, if I may, then I'm finished. I do think it might be helpful for the city to consider developing with the community a comprehensive cultural plan, because we have a lot of things going on, and we've had planned for many things: transportation plan, sewage plan, tourism plan. What about for the arts? Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll try and be brief. So thank you to our delegation, and congratulations to our new board directors for coming on board and taking this on. We appreciate you. I'd reaffirm some of the things Councillor Parslow said with respect to I think you'd be very hard pressed to find a community of this size and that's this remote, that has comparable facilities to ours and offers as much as we do. That is coming at a significant cost, and how we sustain that cost as our counterparts, the federal and provincial government, pull back is a challenge. And as we work through that together, I think, obviously, if we want to prosper as a community, if we want to attract qualified professionals, doctors, nurses, teachers, engineers, people who can make a good living anywhere, they're not going to move here if they think their family's access to education and cultural amenities is going to be compromised. So we don't have the luxury of kicking the can down the road and hoping the federal and provincial government rediscover their passion for arts and culture. What that looks like specifically, the one thing is, as the public subsidy increases, so too does the public's involvement in, and the oversight burden that comes along with that, and the lens you're under as you operate. So that's something to always be mindful of. I think I appreciate you guys coming with some the kind of high-level strategic goals. I would encourage, and as your liaison, I'll continue in the meantime to encourage, as you work your way through these goals and make progress on them, please document with concrete examples how they're being addressed. Because while some things I think are fairly, operational separation, as a high level big term, but specifically what does that mean in relaying it to council, or strategic space stewardship optimization? Those are all very nice sounding buzzwords, but how are we tying those into actual tactical and operational decisions and concrete examples that we as a council, as we try and champion your organization, the community can relay to the public, right? That's always...
in a couple of the slides that I skipped, there's the tactics on how we're going to do that, and documented progress on strategic goals is one of them. I just was trying to be brief.
Yeah, no, so. I appreciate that. But yeah, as you work through the year, I think it's good to be able to, when you show up with an annual report at the end of the year, refer back to these and see how we've succeeded. But yeah, I won't take up too much more of your time. Other than thank you for making the effort, and wish you a happy new year. And once again, welcome and congratulations to the new board and we've got a lot of work to do, but I think you're in a much better position than you were a year ago. So, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Any other questions? I didn't really have much. I do want to thank you for coming in and presenting. I also want to, thank Jibin and the previous board for what they kind of came into and what they've been through in the last, especially a year ago, and that 6 months of the amount of effort that it took for that board to get through, that crisis situation they were in. So, just a real thank you to that whole board and all the volunteers. We know you guys definitely went above and beyond what the board's duty should have been, and we appreciate that. So thank you. And like Councillor Earl said, congratulations to the new board too as well. It's very nice to see it growing, and we're really looking forward to where it comes. So thank you and congratulations. I guess just one question I have is on the ask. So there's not really an ask, but I guess you want an understanding of the agreement on the loan repayment. Is kind of what you're wanting?
It's kind of dual purpose. Recognition that operating the way we have been allows us to continue to do the things we have been doing. We are stable. We could continue to operate at the same capacity, but growth and expansion requires additional administrative capacity. The Performing Arts Center budget, their operating budget is about $336,000 completely separated from the daycare. So if we were looking at 30% of that, it's $100,800. So that would be ideal, and that would allow us to expand and manage this facility more efficiently and make better use of these spaces by being able to plan and staff them appropriately.
Okay.
But as in regards to the loan, if loan forgiveness was the first step in that process, that would help immensely. At this point, we are looking for any sort of support that allows us to move forward.
Okay, thank you. And I agree with Councillor Parzo, like those, for the size of our community, we have a lot of amenities that, I don't think other communities twice the size of ours have. We are pretty fortunate in one sense for all the things that we have to help attract and retain our residents and our community. But with that comes the pressures of funding them properly, right? And that's something that we're facing right now. So, and I agree, like those two facilities, like the Art Gallery and the Calvin Crook Center, like they're phenomenal facilities, both in their unique ways, but they have the potential to offer a lot to our community and our region. And, for that we're excited about. It's just, I think really like understanding how that looks for the whole community and how do we work together to get there. So, so thank you, for coming in and presenting. Congratulations again, and thank you, Jibin and previous board for your commitment. So, thank you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Kevin, you didn't have anything, did you? All right, next order of business is 2026 strategic priority chart. 3.1, 3.3, there's report number 26-006 from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding the strategic priorities action plan performance measurement report. Is there a recommendation there? I don't know if somebody wants to.
Well, if we receive for information, as in the recommendation, we'll be able to discuss it? Or?
Yeah, we can still discuss it after it's received for information, yeah. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that report number 26-006 from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding Strategic Priorities Action Plan Performance Measurement Report, which provides Council with a comprehensive review of the key highlights and challenges of the action plan items covered from January 2024 to December 2025, and an update on the staff action plan for quarter 3 and 4 in 2025 be received for information.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Second, Councillor Sutter. Discussion. Councillor Earl, go ahead.
No, I just, I guess before I let my colleagues get it, to thank you to staff for the report and the update. We try and refer back to it consistently, but sometimes things get busy, and as often happens with strategic priorities, they can have a tendency to fall by the wayside as the rigors of daily operations take priority, especially with the weather we've been having. That's kept everybody pretty busy. So to be able to circle back around, I think at this point, there's just a little under, 1 year left in this council's term. So figuring out where we stand and what needs to come next is an important part of that, especially as we undertake what's looking increasingly to be a very difficult budget discussion. So, but I'll let my colleagues give some feedback if they want.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Parslow?
Well, first, I want to share appreciation for the style and doing this report card, for sure. There are a number of things in here I don't know about. They're news to me. So I would like to, and there's a few, is this draft or is this final? Because there's some errors in here that, we was on our table this morning, right? And I must confess I didn't read it until this morning, to be honest with you, right? So there's a few things which I'll point out privately to you, okay?
It was in the agenda as well, too.
Pardon?
It was in the agenda.
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well,
I know it
Councillor
was.
Parslow.
I know. Oh, I'm
Okay.
not criticizing. The fault is with me. I'm just
Well, I'm not
confessing.
pointing that out. I was just making if you weren't aware of it. It was.
Oh, no. Well, you take pleasure pointing it out to me. The Trails Master Plan. Now, I need some education on this one. I thought we had a Trails Master Plan, but was this, when was this finalized? I thought we had one, or was it reworked?
Well, it wasn't that long ago. Go ahead, Devin.
Yeah.
Spend all that time on that trails before, huh?
Through your worship,
Well, we've had one for years, right? Haven't we?
the Trails Master Plan speaks to the active transportation and the active transportation master plan. So through the transportation master plan, we did some value-added services and provided trails master planning as well, because it's generally the same thing. Active transportation is anything person-powered.
Yeah.
So talking to Ryan, I spoke with him last year when we were going to do it. He said he didn't have time on the agenda. He had a big agenda. So I took it on as part of the Trails Master Plan and the Active Transportation Master Plan work. We did them together. So we didn't specifically call it a Trails Master Plan, no.
Yeah. So should the word expression then be an updated trails? Because I thought we've always had one. An active transportation
I don't believe
corridors.
we had a Trails Master Plan, but
So through your worship, I'll think back to the transportation master plan that we had prior. It was, we had trails identified within that master plan, and that was done, time goes by, but that was probably like 2013, 14, 15, somewhere in there.
Yes, right.
And there were trails identified. I think what Devin's speaking of is we took that to a little bit of a more detailed level this go around specifically. And the reason we did is because when we did the planning process for the Parks and Rec master plan, trails were number one, number two, whatever it was, one of the top two identified amenities that the community that engaged talked about. So it was an important thing, so we wanted to make sure we highlighted it and we had a more robust plan going forward. And so
Okay.
that's where you'll see the capital plan kind of tying into that.
Okay. So just to illustrate again my ignorance, okay. On the same page, we've got some high-level risks and challenges, and we've got downtown, and it says. The last sort of line say, amenity installations require additional resources to fully realize objectives. being again completely transparent, I'm not sure if I know what the objectives are for downtown in tangible amenity stuff. So I don't want any answers. I'm just flagging stuff. I would just say I know nothing about that. On the same page, Melissa, relationships building, the last line says attention and more care period experiences. What are more care experiences, please? I really never heard of that expression. So is that something you want to?
I think, Your Worship, that the last word probably needs to be removed, and attention and more care is probably what we're saying. And really what it comes down to with these is, and Melissa will correct me if I'm wrong, but what we've found over the last while is the relationship component is, although we're very active in it, it is difficult with everybody's competing schedules to get some of those meetings that we aspire to have with various neighbors. And so I think that's really, it takes that ongoing time and attention to try and get those meetings and time, because as we know, time goes by very quickly, and we aspire to have one a month, and the reality is we might only get, 3 or 4 a year just because of competing schedules. But Melissa, if I was wrong in my assertion.
That's correct. It's just that one word needs to be removed. So what I will say to my mistakes is perhaps I put them in there to make you pay attention more. So.
Melissa, you've been copying me too much. No, just moving on. Transit, page 6 of 20. Missed improvements before 2026 is a risk. What improvements do we have in mind?
So through your worship, that's on the risk heat map that you're speaking of? Okay, so the transit, missed opportunity or missed improvements before 2026, public dissatisfaction and council priority. So, okay, go ahead, Devin.
Through your worship, good question again. With all the conversation we've had with transit, there was an improvement budget. I had a capital improvement budget last year planned to do. That was, I guess, put aside for last year, just in case, because we don't know where those conversations are going. There was a large amount of capital going to be put into bus stops all over in regards to accessibility and ramps and shelters. And what we did this year was simply just a couple grants. We applied for a couple grants. We got an extra grant from BC Transit and did those with some additional monies. But we didn't follow through on all of the upgrades that we had planned that are outlined in the strategic plan.
Thanks, Devin.
Okay, I'm going to skip. I could go on. I just don't want to do that because this is a great report. Lots of work done in it. Lots of skill. I'm really pleased with it. So that's my main message. There are some things I would like to know more about because I just don't know what they're addressing. But Devin's answer to this one clarifies it, right? So I'll pursue this privately. But I do want to just talk about the airport. Okay, so I'm now on page 10 of 20. Key actions and outcomes 2024-2025. So the key insight, success, a sub-regional committee is established, right? That was news to me. Okay, but that's again my failing, not yours. I'm just saying. But we want to market this as a regional hub. I think that we need to have some council discussion around the airport because I'm aware of some possibilities that totally excite me, and I do think we should move forward with the airport, but after we've had some real serious discussions on an agenda. But this sub-regional advisory group, is it with Saddle Hills, Chetwynd, and all the First Nations partners? And what has it done?
Yeah. So through your worship, we had an initial meeting. It's been it's been a while, and we met with Mayor of Tumbler, Mayor of Chetwynd, the rural directors, Mayor of Poos. I'm missing anybody?
No,
First
I think that
Nations?
was it. There wasn't Saddle Hills.
No, Saddle Hills and First Nations were not there at those initial meetings. And the discussion at that time was they were looking for some data. Specifically, a lot of it revolved around medevacs and, where they originated from and all that. What we found is that's very difficult to acquire. We can obviously determine movements, but Northern Health has said that they don't or can't share the data, even a postal code of perhaps where a patient may originate. Because that would help determine, again, that how much is Dawson Creek and how much is somewhere else. So that hasn't moved us any farther down that road simply because the data isn't granular enough or it's not accessible to us to move that any farther ahead.
Okay. Well, I just want to be noted that I would like,
Yep.
if we could have a discussion, possibly in camera, about the airport at some future date.
Sure.
One last question. MRDT, I know work's been done on it, it's in this report. Do we have it? Or was it unsuccessful in establishing,
I believe in, what was my first year, so 2.5 years ago, we came back, did a report back to you, had a presentation by Laura Plant on MRDT, what it is, how it works, et cetera, provided all the details, and subsequently provided that information, I'm going to say, I'm going to make it up, 8 months ago-ish, I think, from my mind, and that's sort of where it stands. I think as part of the next steps is having those conversations with the hoteliers. We know the mechanics of it, but it's really the next step on setting those meetings. Having, as we talked about in those presentations, there's a staff function, but also having a council perspective or mayor perspective as well to help champion those conversations to move some of those discussions or those opportunities forward.
So it's still being formed?
Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Councillor Earl? Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you. And I did want to commend staff, in particular on the infrastructure and asset management piece. That was, I think there's some things as detailed in the report that maybe haven't moved along in the way we'd hoped it was or have developed in a way we didn't fully anticipate. But I think as far as laying the foundation for success, irrespective of how we as a council end this term and what future councils pursue, it as far as a solid foundation and sound fundamentals, maintaining our facilities and our infrastructure and setting a standard that we're expected to fulfill our responsibility, not just to ourselves, but to future generations to maintain our assets. I think that is probably the most important takeaway. Obviously, from my own, based on what I ran on and what I've been pushing for some time, the revitalization piece in the downtown core is also important. And now that we have the exemption bylaw in place, figuring out how that transitions into some spending decisions, but also how we promote our downtown core and cultivate investment, whether through an economic development function or some other way, I think is an important next step. But I did want to congratulate staff on that, although the figure that came back with respect to what we had to save in order to maintain the various assets we have was startling. I think if you don't have good information, you're not empowered to make good decisions. So I think that's an important piece that I don't want to let slide. I'd like to highlight that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Any other discussion? No? Thank you. I want to just thank you for the report, but also, it's nice once you get this all on paper to see what you've accomplished moving forward. I think there's always room and things that we can work on, but I don't want to lose sight of how much progress has been made in the last year, but 3 years, because out of all the things that we've went through, we've just seen firsthand how these strategic priorities have been like at the top priorities. So whether it's, water that's not in here, or our commitment to helping healthcare in our community that's not in here, and all those other things that have come up along the way that we've are priorities for the community but weren't in here. So yeah, I've seen a lot, especially over the last year with you, Kevin, like how much your focus had to go to water, and but how you still continued to push all this stuff forward. So yeah, just
thank you.
Yeah, good job to yourself. So
Well, and this isn't me, and this is the team for sure. And without them, none of this happens. And a big thanks to Melissa, obviously, for putting this together in a way that tries to illustrate, exactly what we've accomplished. And I think, go back to what Councillor Earl said, I think if there's one thing that council needs to be very proud about is the asset management piece. It's been something that's been talked about. Councillor Parslow, you've been on council a while, and we've talked about it, but we were never able to get it across the finish line, and now we're getting there. And it's going to take time. The numbers you speak of, they're not getting smaller if we wait. So I think that's a huge piece. Although in the short term, it's not visible to the public, it will become visible. And you just need to look at a place like Calgary, who is dealing with, their transmission water main that is rupturing. And I don't know what they have for asset management policies, but that's a clear example of if we don't, we will not be able to respond to issues like that into the future. Very critical infrastructure. Then there are the visible pieces, whether it be trails, facilities, playgrounds, roads, all those pieces that we've been doing over the last few years that tie directly into the strategic plans. So I think there's a lot of good stuff, and good for council for envisioning it and putting it forward and resourcing it and moving it forward. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Next order of business is late items I don't think there's any late items. 5, new councillor business. All right, next 6,
Your Worship,
adoption of minutes.
We didn't, they never voted, or you never voted on the last report just received for information.
Yeah, thank you. It's just testing. I was waiting for Councillor Parslow to call me, actually, not...
No, I did want to, I thought I've interrupted the meeting enough.
So 3.3, I'd like to call this motion to receive for information to vote. Vote is closed, and it's carried. All right, so we will go to 6.1 minutes of regular meeting of council held on December 15th, 2025 for adoption. Councillor Kemp, second Councillor MacDonald. Call that to vote. We have one more to vote, please. So everybody voted? Vote is closed. It's carried. Any business arising? Cool. All right, next, 8 correspondence. 8.1, we have a letter from Sid Tobias, Mayor of Town of View Royal, received on December 4th, 2025 regarding judicial review of provincial housing laws, Bill 44, 47, 13, 15, and M216.
Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. I'll move that we receive for information.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Second, Councillor Earl. Discussion on receiving for information.
Just that the timeline, we missed the timeline to help support that.
Okay. All right, I'll call this to vote. Vote is closed and it's carried. Next, 8.2, we have invoice from Dawson Creek and District Chamber of Commerce received on December 15th, 2025 regarding 2026 annual membership fee. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to move that we pay this invoice.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Second, Councillor Apollonio. Discussion? No, I'll call this motion to vote. One more. Everybody voted? Vote is closed. It's carried. Just going to call a quick 5-minute break here. This meeting for Monday, January 12th, 2026. Back to order. Next order of business was 8.3. We have email from Jason Gies, Customer Accounts Manager, Douglas Lake Equipment Limited, received on December 17th, 2026, regarding award of RFQ 2025-42, tractor and rotary mower supply and delivery. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. I think if Ashton's okay with it, I'd like to receive for discussion.
Yeah. Oh, I think she's okay with it. Do I have a second? Councillor Parslow? I'll call this to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Go ahead, Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Worship. First off, I'd like to thank Mr. Gies for this great letter. It is very well written. I think he highlighted some great points for us to consider as a council, and the need for maybe some direction that we need to give city staff when it comes to quotes and bids like this. I truly believe when we receive a quote for a piece of equipment and there's an opportunity to give it to a local dealer when their prices are very comparable and we have the opportunity to support local jobs, a local business taxpayer, and a local business that supports community nonprofits, that it should be a definite consideration, should be part of our consideration of that local portion. I think Mr. Gies pointed out a couple of great opportunities in the quote where we could have had the opportunity to go back to them for a renegotiation, where we could have taken into consideration having a local service provider for our said piece of equipment, instead of us having to go outside of the city, outside of the province even, for service. Just a great opportunity that this letter provides us now for more discussion and maybe some different direction when it comes to our quotes and bids.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, so thank you, through your worship. So obviously knew this letter was coming. I've spoken with Mr. Gies as well and his concerns, and I completely, from a local business standpoint, completely appreciate, where they're coming from, and it does make sense. So we just asked the question, from a legal perspective, what we can, what we cannot do. So first of all, from this particular RFQ that we put out in this regard, we evaluated it correctly. There was no issue there. We can't go back and say, you were close, could you give us a better price? We can't do that. So then moving forward, what can we do differently? You cannot have a local preference in a tender and RFQ, as that contravenes the trade treaties. The only thing that we could do is have some requirement for parts service within a certain kilometer or hours of delivery of those services. That's what we're limited to do, and you know, that's fair. That makes sense. Although we didn't have that in this particular RFQ, we can do that in the future. The successful proponent did provide local service and parts. They were going to have parts in town, and they were going to have a person dedicated to service this piece of equipment. So I guess that's still something a person could do, but we can certainly, moving forward, ensure that we have a requirement for that aspect. So yeah, it's challenging, but from a legal perspective, we're limited to what we can do. But certainly, in a perfect world, yes, it would make sense to support your local businesses as much as possible. So we'll do what we can.
Thank you. And just, I guess, Kevin, since this didn't come to council, it must have been under like the dollar threshold. So is there, like, for any piece of equipment, do you have to go out to like RFQ, or like if there's a certain piece that you're looking for, can you just go to like the 2 or 3 different?
So it depends on our purchasing policy and those thresholds. So right now, correct me if wrong, but I believe $75,000. If it's in excess of, or believed to be in excess of 75, then you have to go to public tendering. If it's less than that, then there's quotations that you can receive without actually publicly advertising, and so that's just the purchasing policy that we have.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Councillor Parslow?
Well, I appreciated the elegant way Councillor MacDonald put forward the issue, and equally Kevin's response. So are we to accommodate the service provision, right? Would that require some amendments to our policy if you're building that into the RFQs? Or
Through your worship, no, it wouldn't need to be part of the policy.
it would?
It would not.
Okay.
Now, if council moving forward wanted to ensure that we, I mean, we're looking at updating the policy anyway, so we could certainly look and see if it makes sense to include some verbiage in there that council wants staff to look at those opportunities that are permissible to encourage local. We'll look at that, and that might be within the policy, not necessarily specifically, but just the fact that because things could change over time, you want to have some language in there that would look for those opportunities to.
Well, so we can't make it a condition that wherever possible, I mean, we could buy a piece of equipment, let's make this up, right? Buy a piece of equipment, and the low bid is a dealer from something that's manufactured in South Korea, and this dealer that operates out of Vancouver, and can we not make it a requirement that the equipment is capable of being serviced within our community or nearby community?
Yep. Yep.
You could do that.
And with this particular one, we asked the question of how they were going to service it. And they said, we have a technician and parts in your community. So, and they met the specs. So the specifications are another avenue for what we ask for. In this particular case, they met the specs.
Yeah.
If we have specifications that are more granular, then perhaps you can I don't know what the word would be, but you can limit maybe ones that aren't as desirable. But you have to be careful about how you go about that.
Yeah. No, I respect how it's been handled. I really do. I'm just question is, can we not build some statement in our purchasing policy about that aspect of consideration of bids?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we could, is like you say, consideration where applicable or possible, that,
I mean, it's possibility that we wouldn't have such a wise, considerate CAO in the future,
it's always a possibility.
and put it in writing. You know what I mean? I think policy is really the expectations of council, right? So I appreciate everything that's been done.
Yeah.
Good answers, good statement from Councillor MacDonald, but I just want to make sure that there's no loopholes, that we do want that local service capacity addressed in all instances over 75,000.
Okay. We'll make a note of that as we revamp the policy for sure.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Councillor Earl?
Thank you. I'll try and be quick. So in the letter, I guess the crux of it is Jason suggests there was not, in their mind, adequate value put on local service support and knowledge of what was required. Kevin's advised that there was, in fact, provisions made to ensure that it was serviceable at a local level. But I guess when we say like adequate value, that would be how we weigh it on a scoring matrix, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So I guess, you know, and keeping in mind what you said about according to existing laws, we're not able to explicitly privilege local vendors. To what degree can we increase the weight of that consideration without running afoul of that particular law?
Yeah, and I think that's, I'll probably have to get more details on that as we develop our purchasing policies and whatnot. But in this particular case, there wasn't a scoring matrix. It was really, we're asking for X, Y, and Z, and give us your best price. And if they met X, Y, and Z, really the lowest, you know, price was the winner. It was fairly simplistic, you know, RFQ in some regard. So if you get into scoring matrices, which you can, some of them are proposals, and that changes it a little bit again. And so there's different laws around that. But there's, so as we go through and develop our policies and look at it into the future, we'll have.
I mean, I appreciate the letter and the sentiment expressed, and obviously we all prefer that we can buy local whenever possible. But we have to counterbalance that against, number one, being responsible to taxpayers for how their money's spent and trying to get the best deal for them, and also not creating policies that are so rigid and inflexible that they cost more in staff time than you save in order to comply with them, that you save more than if you'd just gone out and so it's. I appreciate the letter. I appreciate your response and what Councillor Parslow noted, and I think. You know, it's always good to periodically circle back around to these things and make sure we're doing what we can as we can do it.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. This just made me think of something. Is there a way to weight like quality of stuff? Like when you're buying, you know, equipment or vehicles, just a curiosity, because we all know that there's different qualities of everything. And sometimes some you might pay a little bit more, but you get longer life out of them, which, you know, then is utilizing your funds in a more positive way. So I'm just wondering, like, how, like, is there even a way to weight that?
Well, there may be. Right now, what we rely on is references. So, you know, and even in this particular case, because myself, I wasn't familiar with the product. I asked our manager to make some calls to people that, you know, were references for the equipment. They love it. It's great. You know, they've had great luck. So again, in this case, you know, we did our due diligence to check to see if, you know, if it's been a good product for them for the intended purposes. And again, for what we were using this one for, which is really, it's just a really big lawnmower. It's going to be pulling a large mower behind it and cutting the grass of the airfield, opposed to something that might be a little bit more, you know, industrial, where you're digging and pulling and doing things. So we weighed all those things in consideration, and it meets the bar. But is there a way to look at value, or yeah, perhaps things we can look at for sure.
Yeah, I think
See
it
if
goes
it's
to
possible.
what Councillor Parslow said about like having you in that position, like you do those things, right? It's just about how do we,
Yeah.
if there's ways to put those in to protect it for,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Earl, you were good, right? Okay. All right, next order of business is 8.4, letter from Ron Oszust, Mayor of Town of Golden, received on December 19th, 2025 regarding a request for co-sponsorship of FCM resolution restoring affordability by addressing market concentration and price. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to move that we receive for information.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Second, Councillor Kemp. Any discussion on receiving for information? No? All right, I'll call this to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, we have 9 reports. 9.1 report number 26-004 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding 2026 capital projects. Councillor Parslow.
I move that report number 26-004 from the Chief Financial Officer read 2026 capital projects be approved as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Second. Councillor Sednick. So that would be all the recommendations, or?
That would cover everything, in my opinion, and I do have some questions.
Okay, so I will open that up for discussion if everybody's, I guess, all right to do it that way. So, Councillor Earl?
Oh, sorry, I was gonna ask what Councillor Parslow meant by his motion.
Oh, okay,
If you want
it's for all
to have
recommendations.
his questions, I'll chime in afterwards.
I have some questions about specific items. I don't see the need to have a whole bunch of recommendations read out when we could approve them all in one go.
Okay. Tab, that works. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Parslow.
Yeah, I have no resolutions to change anything. I'm just seeking information here. Okay, city, if I may, I've got about 5, 6 items I want to just understand.
6, I'll count.
So the City Hall cenotaph, is the intention to have that project completed in this upcoming fiscal year? The answer is no. So what work is covered in the budget for the City Hall cenotaph?
Through your worship to Councillor Parslow. So the cenotaph project, this funding is for the carry forward and the additional dollars, which is really for the planning, design aspect of it and engagement. And then from that will be developed a Class D estimate. And then from that would come forward to a future likely, and I'm going to get my years wrong, 2027 capital request for that, as well as part of that through Councillor MacDonald's presentation to the PRD RBAC. I think I'm going to get that wrong, but am I right? Yes. We did apply for funding through RBAC to help offset some of the costs for this planning project. We haven't heard back at that time, at this time, but it's planning, design, engagement aspects for the cenotaph.
Okay, just a few comments about that. I agree we have to do all those things you've just outlined. One of my bitter experiences, which repeats itself at this table, is we do not put any bookends on these projects. We've had reports on, let's say, the Mile Zero Park. We had no bookends. It came in as an $8 million project. We have no possible means. And all I'm wondering about is, you know, can we have a bit of a pause before we spend so much money on doing something that may be beyond our budget? Can we not have some reasonable, obviously we have to have some concepts. Obviously, this project is really needed. I don't disagree with that. But, you know, are we thinking of spending $1 million in it, 2 million, or 10 million? And all I'm saying is, we have given some consultants something without any bookends, and I'm just suggesting. I'm not speaking against this project whatsoever, that it would seem wise to have in the process a pause whereby we determine how much money this project's going to cost within pluses and minuses. That's my only comment about that. What is the other project I want to ask questions about is what is phase 4 of the Memorial Arena? What does it entail? Because there's been, you know, Memorial Arena is really been spruced up. It really looks great. What's left to do?
You know, the public washrooms and paving. Yeah.
Through your worship, through yourself to Councillor Parslow. So the remaining items would be listed in your book on page 95.
Okay.
But it'd be the public washrooms.
Okay.
There's the public washrooms, the male and female, and then you have I'm going to call it the mezzanine level, the second level, a minor update to those washrooms as well. So all public washrooms would be completed. I call it ice side painting. So going to call it the north and south ends of the arena. There's half of it is gray, and the other half is, I'm going to call it cream, beige, off-white, dirty white. Hasn't been touched and been beat up and needs a refresh. I'm going to call it warm side of the facility. So second floor and stuff is the evaluation of some of the, we did the epoxy flooring on the main floor, like in the lobbies, but we're looking to do the janitor rooms and some of the other areas within the facility so we can tighten up and secure and have better flooring to secure sort of water in those sort of, so for example, on the second floor, there's a janitor sink that constantly leaks due to the nature of whatever, and it drips through the ceiling, wrecks the ceiling tiles, etc. So we're going to try to tighten up all those sort of areas by sealing those units and such in. We're looking at on the exterior of the building, there is some work to the soffit on the front entrance. The tin is all bent. We have to replace the lights that are on the exterior there. They're quite dim, but we have to, because of the age of that, we have to update the soffit and stuff. We have to extend the downspouts on the exterior to get the water away from the building, and a new score clock. The current score clock within the facility is quite dated. The score clock itself is at end of life. We can't purchase or get any replacement parts for the scoring machine, the actual controller, but also if any of the LEDs or the lights go off on the board, we can't replace those either.
Well, that's great. So will there be a phase 5?
So the only thing that, currently, we're monitoring the HVAC right now. So we've done a significant amount of work on the HVAC. And with the new control systems that we have in place, we're taking this year as a monitoring year to see how the building performs, et cetera. There are some cold zones, for lack of a better word, that are in the building. I would call it the vestibule from when you first walk into the building. That vestibule area only has a radiant tube heater. And does not keep up to anything. So during our cold spell, it was -4 within that area and 5, and we have the data because of the investment of the DDC and controls to monitor that. And additionally, down the I think it's the east quarter towards the public washrooms. That's heated by natural gas radiant tube heaters, and significantly during the cold spells, certainly difficult to maintain heat in that area. So there may be a better way through the boilers and stuff to do that. So there's an HVAC side that we're looking at right now. And the only other thing that really after that would be potentially the lighting is in the next couple of years, not saying next year, but the lights that are in there have been there for 15-ish years and are probably in the next 3 to 5 would need to be considered to be replaced.
Good. South Peace Multiplex Ice Plant Phase 1. Can you scope out how you see that ice plant? You know what I mean? When will it need to be replaced? What does Phase 2, 3 look like? And I mean, there's no chance the ice plant fail in next year, eh?
Through your worship, to Councillor Parslow.
No chance, I said.
This is the pre-planning work for it. So I think that some of the approaches that we're taking, or that we're taking on the facility side, is that we have a hard time coming up with large dollar values in one sort of year. So spreading that process over multiple. So 2026 is really that planning, preparing, RFP sort of preparation, and engineering scoping and finalizing. And then in anticipation, I'm going to get my years wrong, that's 26 and 27, late 26, early 27, the RFP would go out, be awarded. The procurement and the construction, for lack of a better word, would be by the contractor, whoever that is, would do all the work. And then in 28 would be the installation of it. But also knowing the long lead times of some of this mechanical, or not mechanical, the refrigeration plant and even other mechanical items are so long that planning cycle or stages as well to ensure that, we manage, I don't want to say the cash flow or that budgeting of it up to that time frame. So that's that process. This is the planning or the scoping of it and preparation for the RFP for 20, and then in late 26 or early 27 to send it out to tender and then award it, and then to have it, I'm going to say, usable in, I'm going to say the fall of 28.
I got you.
If that makes sense.
My last question still relates to the ice plant at the multiplex.
Yeah.
And I know you've had this discussion, but I've lost track of it. Ammonia. You did comment on that. I asked, I think, when we replace this ice plant, are we looking at not having ammonia? And I think you said we have to, there's no choice there, but I may be wrong. What is it, radon or whatever it is? Not radon, but
Freon.
Ammonia, or what we use at Memorial Arena?
It's Freon at the arena.
Freon,
so,
that's the word I'm looking for.
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Parslow. So there's a couple of options. So there's ammonia, Freon. There is carbon dioxide as well, CO2 plants. We've done a bit of I'm going to call it a pre-analysis of some of this, some pre-work on some of this, and the technologies from, going to call it 10 years ago related to ammonia and the plants to where they are now is significantly different. One of the reasons why the Memorial curling and kin ice plants are Freon is due to the nature of its location, proximity to school, hospital, et cetera, and some other items, and the size of the arenas in terms of like overall volume, et cetera. And so right now it looks like that the multiplex would be an ammonia plant from a precursor sort of aspect. However, it wouldn't be the same amount of ammonia charge that it currently is right now. Right now, the charge, I believe, is 1,200 pounds of ammonia, which is, I'm going to call it quite a lot, but perhaps at the standard 17 years ago it is what it is, but we're looking at different ways of reducing that charge by going to plate and frame instead of screws or reciprocating compressors. So I think that the technology has come such far away that there will be a much reduced charge, ammonia charge, with the facility, with that ice plant.
Good, that sounds all good. My last comment, I really appreciate the way Melissa puts these budgets together, flagging the carry forward and the coming out of this year's revenue. You get we, from people who do study these budgets deeply, and there's not many of them, but there are a few, it's really good to have that breakdown of how the carry forward, because there's usually lots of questions. Why do you have all this carry forward? Well, we know why. We have it, but identifying the amounts for these different groupings of projects is very helpful in answering those sort of questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Good discussion. Councillor Earl. Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, staff, for this. Once again, it's pretty, I think, maybe somewhat reduced from previous years when we were doing the full suite of capital paving, but I think still a very robust and ambitious plan compared to what we were doing when I started here on council, and I don't want to lose sight of that. One or two questions, I guess. The 17th Street CN Crossing repaving, are we on the hook for the entire cost of that, or is there any money kicked in by CN?
Okay, well, I'll let Devin speak to it.
Thank you. To Councillor Earl, through Your Worship. 17th Street CN Crossing, this is only budgeted at $50,000. It's strictly just designed this year. I need to be able to understand what's going on with that crossing before we can go to CN and have a conversation. Okay. From what I know, when I first started here in engineering, I did a survey in 2011. And I've noticed we just compared to LiDAR results that we have now, and that rail has gained elevation significantly. So CN has maybe more than leveled their tracks, but we know that the geometry of the intersection in general just needs work. Mm-hmm. So the first step is understanding what the design is, how much that cost is, before we can really go have any negotiation with CN. But the plan is to have a conversation with them at the very least and see what we can do, because it is their infrastructure as well as ours in that area.
And I don't mean to be facetious when I say this, but generally speaking, when we've reached out to CN looking for accommodation or any kind of compromise that would make our lives easier, or the lives of our residents easier, it's usually a pretty short one paragraph. No, we're good.
To be fair, I believe there's a safety aspect involved here through just road geometry and proper engineering that we could probably leverage. I'm hoping that that's a positive conversation.
All right. Well, I look forward to hearing the outcome of that. Last question, the Sudeten Hall back area paving. I note in the report it does highlight addressing some drainage issues to hopefully prolong the life of some of the assets down there and protect the foundation of the Sudeten Hall building itself. I also remember when I first got on council, we were in a situation where that building was potentially going to be a tear down because there were some issues there. How confident are we in the life cycle of that building justifying further investment at that place in this time? And if the building weren't to last as long as we hoped it were, would the investment in the back area still be prudent, or might we make different decisions with that understanding?
Through you to Councillor Earl. So two sides to this. One is when the new water line to the splash pad was done this year, and we've now abandoned the water lines that are coming from Highway 97 South. So the Highway 97 South water lines are abandoned to the splash park because of the pump track and all those different things. So a new water line came in from the north, past Sedaten Hall by its little thing. Due to all that work that was done in there, that whole back area has been ripped to pieces in terms of the concrete or the asphalt and such. And so we can't leave it in that state of repair. So we need to come in and do and it was always soft. So prior to the work, it was always soft back there too, due to the nature of, I don't want to say it was the springs or the water that was the natural groundwater in that area. So this is to reconstruct that and make it more stronger, stable.
Durable.
In terms of the Sedaten Hall, I couldn't tell you the time frame, but years ago, a significant amount of work has gone back into Sedaten Hall to bring it back up in terms of the flooring, roof, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the facility, I don't have a time frame for you. Again, with proper preventative and predictive maintenance and eyes on the facility, et cetera, I think that we can resolve many of the issues that have happened and continue to take care of it. I don't see that facility in the near future would be going away. Yeah, cool.
Thank you. And sorry, I did have one more real quick. I apologize. The under drains and media filter replacement. So just for as a layperson trying to keep everything straight in my head, activated charcoal is used in the water filtration process and is different from the media filter.
Yeah.
How so?
This is more on the front end. So the charcoal, the activated charcoal, is more on the back end, just before it goes through the ultraviolet. So just within the treatment process, this particular project is more on the front end. It's the granular filter.
The large.
Going through there.
Yeah.
Then it goes through a few other things. The granular activated charcoal is one of the final steps before it gets ultraviolet disinfection and some chlorine. So it's just where it is in the process.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
Thanks, Councillor L. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. I just had a question about the Mile Zero landscaping. Is there any consideration to the possible expansion of their misting pad in the future before we do that landscaping? Are we setting stuff up that may be destroyed later to accommodate an expansion of their misting pad?
Through you to Councillor MacDonald. So this past, I'm going to call it late fall, we completed a concrete path from I'm going to call it the closest gate to the misting pad and playground and the bathrooms, down to the misting pad, created so it's accessible at proper grades. There are 2 additional, I'm going to call it picnic table bump outs that are cemented as well. So for future this year, picnic table, accessible picnic tables, et cetera. And then we connected that to the cement to the playground. And then we did if you remember at the misting pad, I'm going to get to it, is that all that work that we did down there further disturbed all around that area. So we have to go down and upgrade do the finalizing landscaping and stuff and touch it all up. In terms of a future or expanded misting pad down there, I do know that the water line that was put in has enough capacity if and when new bathrooms are created down there and or future development, whatever that might be. In terms of a future misting pad or an expanded misting pad down there, I don't know. I don't see that from my specific perspective in the next several years. So from a landscaping perspective, if that were to go forward years from now, I think that landscaping would be minor in terms of the work to be done in terms of ripping up some grass and dirt and putting it back after that project, if it were to ever go forward at that time.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Thanks, Ryan. Any other discussion?
So through your worship to Councillor Earl, I did, just with the comment on the paving, I did want to remind, there is the motion coming out of the draft one budget with the assessment in paving and the 40 million, the 5 million extra that was put away each year compared to our actuals. So the motion passed is once we have our actuals for 2025, you will see the option to add additional paving projects come in draft 2. But I just wanted to remind with that, and they're specifically not included in the project, but they'll come in, or in this report, but they'll come through draft 2.
Thanks, Melissa. Councillor Apollonio.
Thank you, Worship. I think this will be addressed to Ryan. What will be the outcome, like the vibrant downtown street lighting beautification phase 2?
So, through your worship to Councillor Apollonio, so this phase 1 completed. As we did phase 1, there are, I'm going to call it a handful of streetlights that got missed. And so phase 2 is really the finalizing of that. And I believe, I don't know what page, 114, we are looking to swap the light standards that are down on McKellar, which are, I'm going to call them Cobra heads, right? I'm not going to call them fancy ones as they are. So we're going to look to take those light standards out, move them to, I think it's 104th, where there's, I think, 7 or 8 light standards that are still, I'm going to call it galvanized or the old red rust. So we're going to swap those. And it's also to upgrade, I think it's 6 additional light standards within the, I don't want to say the downtown core, but that identified downtown core that you guys identified through that visioning sort of workshop. So I think it's 7 to 10 being replaced without going to the page, whatever that is, 114.
Thanks, Councillor Apollonio. Thanks, Ryan. Councillor Parsley. Oh, assuming the mics went off, so you're good. Okay. Councillor Parsley.
Yeah. So when is the date that you're shooting for the approval of going it out to tendering for the paving? Is it after phase 2 budget completion, or does, one of the strategies we've used is an early seeking the approval of council, basically saying, yeah, these are set in the budget, we're not getting rid of them, you can go out and get a cracking. So when is that in your planning? Is that for a January meeting or a February meeting?
So through your worship, I think draft 2, we're hoping the end of January still? Yes. Yeah, so that'll be next meeting. And so we always like, from a capital project perspective, we like to try and have things start going out at the end of the month into February as soon as we can, right? So I think we'll, if we do draft 2 at the end of the month, it'll still fit in there. We'll be able to identify additional paving. Anything identified is still going to have to be, design work's going to be done, so that's going to get pushed anyway. So those particular projects will come after ones that we already know.
Okay.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Any questions, Councillor MacDonald?
Sorry, Your Worship. Question about the arena parking lot reconstruction. Will that be a priority project this year so that it's done in a good, timely fashion? Not like this year when we were ripping up the parking lot for the sewer there right before we opened Memorial and created such a mess.
Yes, through your worship, Councillor MacDonald. Yes, we last year, it's a 2-phase project, so we have the design 99% done. We're just ready for approvals. As soon as approvals goes out, I'm hoping this will be one of the first ones we get out the door.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then we can be ready to go once all the ice season's over and the ice is out.
Okay.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you.
I got some questions here that I just wanted to go through. I think a bunch have been answered, but just on the signage, I know there's a couple parts in the signage in here, and just really looking forward to that because some of our signage is in dire need to be updated. But I know I brought it up before, but I know in the county of Greenview, and you're seeing it a little bit more in our neighboring province communities, they got a new material that they're using for their signage, and I spoke to them about it, and it's like it's a really durable material that's outlasts the weather, or it helps give it more life in the weather. So are we looking at that? Like, I know I love the look of ours in the wood, but I also look at the ones we have, and if they're not properly maintained, they just you don't get much life out of them. So I just kind of wanted a bit of an
Through your
update.
worship, have a draft committee of the whole report for you for next council meeting, where I have 2 concepts of gateway entrance signs for you for consideration. And I think from that, once I get your feedback in terms of the look and feel of it, that will help guide that process through the next steps for new gateway signage. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You can keep your mic on. if you want. Most of mine were answered already. This will be probably to Ryan, but just the Oventive Event Center, the accessibility, ramping, and decking. So most events that I'm at there that we do have wheelchair ramps up, or do we just rent those? Are they not ours?
Through your worship, I believe those, for some of the events that have been held, my understanding that some of them have been, there's some ramping that's owned by School District 59.
Oh, okay.
So for grad and stuff like that. But the city, does not have its own ramping. But the ramping from, I'm going to say the school district that's used, is only set for one height. And that's the standard height of whatever it might be. Whereas this ramping and decking would be
Can be adjusted.
adjusted from it, I think, on multiple different heights to provide, depending on what event, where it's at, how high the staging is, et cetera. So it gives you more flexibility.
Okay, thank you. The arena parking lot, I know, is this the final phase? And if so, I didn't see lighting mentioned in here.
Yeah, there's the preliminary designs that Devin and I have been looking at, working through, does include lighting within the parking lot.
Okay.
We've talked about that a bunch of times. The parking lot that's being done, or that will be done if passed, will be all the parking lots sort of in front of the curling, in front of the memorial, and right in front of the kin, but not the larger overflow parking to the north. So it's really the parking really right directly north of the curling rink, directly north of the memorial that sort of bleeds into I'm going to call it the roadway, and really right in front of the kin and the hockey sticks area, but not to that from there north, that big square park, that overflow, that is not part of this project.
Why not?
Pardon me?
Why not?
Initial costs.
Is it anything to do with the neighboring, that land being developed now too? Is that?
Partly.
Well, through your worship, yeah, I mean, we'll have to take that into consideration once we know what they want to do over there. I was just going to say too, that maybe we'll get a concept drawing. We'll just share it with you just so you can see where we're talking about this, just so you're clear what the extent of the proposed project is. But
the reason it's only in front of the arenas is because it's driven by the drainage. It's driven by those condition assessments of those buildings. So this all stemmed from a drainage. So last year we did the catch basins and the drainage main, the storm main, and now this will be regrading in front of the arenas to get the water away from the buildings. It really comes more from a structural integrity of the buildings, from a structural integrity of the parking lot project.
Okay.
well, and it's Sorry, Your Worship, it's also spreading the money around. I suspect it's just simply they trying to carve that pie up as much as they can, right? So if, going back to what Melissa said earlier, if there's some money that's realized after draft 2, then potentially, if that was a wish of council, could look at it, doing more into that subsequent lot. Because it's needed, don't get us wrong. It's not that it's not needed, but.
Resources. What about go in front of, like when you're coming off the one street there in front of Networks Ministry, like it's kind of a main road, but kind of a back alley. So you're going to have like, that's pretty deteriorated and then dirt into fresh pavement. Is there a plan to like carry that in right to that street?
So, yeah, Your Worship, that is a laneway, although it's used by a lot of people to access the arenas. So I guess that would be, again, just what we'll have to determine what, from a budget perspective, what prices come in and whether we can
just finish
can add on. But yeah, there's some options.
Okay. The other one, just on the arena, the score clock. I know it's aged and that's limited. Have we looked at like doing the ones on the in the event center? We have the score clocks on each end. And I guess the only reason I ask is one is if the cost is a little bit less, maybe that's a win. But the other is when we hosted the volleyball provincials there, that having that bigger score clock in the center, impeded in volleyball, and they were unable to use the center court. So just curious if you look at both of those when you're doing those.
Through your worship, it's something we consider in terms of having, I'm going to call it 2 score clocks, one in north and south. On the south side, probably quite easily. North side, a little bit problematic, just the nature of how the mezzanine is set up. I think it's one of the comments that we've heard back from the users that they, of the ICE users, that a center hung score clock is preferred.
Okay. Well, and I know too, when that volleyball was here, they couldn't be at the event center because I think the rodeo was the same time, so it might have been there. So. I think those were all mine answered. So yeah, I see Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Worship. The mayor was talking about signage, and it just made me think about the banners. Those beautiful banners we put up this spring that unfortunately didn't last through the summer. Is there any consideration of replacing those, or are we just going back to design? What's our thoughts there?
Warranty?
Through your worship, banners. Banners. I think that we're in a bit of I'm going to use the word holding pattern. I think that there are I'm going to call it the islands or in front of the mall and the GDI, and those banner poles that are there, those banner poles that are in the meridians, we need to look to take them down, powder coat them because they're all starting to rust and such, so they need to be recoated. At the same time, I think the banner hardware on those banner poles need to be looked at. Those banners that were on those poles seem to fare better than the ones that were attached to the streetlights. We have noticed that long story short, I guess, is that I think we're in a holding pattern of what that is. The amount of time, energy, effort to replace, take down, put up, et cetera, on those fabric banners is becoming operationally, logistically challenging. We find that any banners that are going east-west facing survive better than are going the other way, due to the nature of our prevailing winds, wind tunnels that are created through the alleyways, et cetera. So I think that we need to come up with a better option design or pivot and do something different or potentially nothing at all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to speed this along here. Councillor Parsley, you got another question?
Yes, some of the questions stimulated other thoughts, but just one. And maybe we can come back to this. again, reading this really good report here, I see under the South Peace Community Multiplex, complete a statement here, complete and feasibility and planning for the remaining undeveloped areas. When has council given any direction on us spending more money to finish the undeveloped areas? And is this just a staff reflection, or did you get direction to do that? And if that's so, where is it in this budget, or is it for a future budget?
Yeah. So through your worship, that's part of our strategic plan. That was direction by council to maximize the space at facilities, specifically the South Peace multiplex. And part of that was discussion about we needed to determine and assess what that space could be. And so that's been in the strategic plan from the get-go.
Oh, so so I understand that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So sure, I thought it was maximize the use of our existing facilities there, not the undeveloped. But
yeah, so I think this is just the feasibility, looking at what it could be, and obviously before you do anything, the council would, we're not going to go and just build something, but I think it's to answer those questions of what you could utilize that space for. Again, doing something within a structure you already have, much like we're doing with the Kin Arena with the sports floor, is far more economical than, if there's a need, than building a new structure. So what could it be, and what could it look like, and then is it something council wants to pursue? I think that's the questions need to be answered.
yeah, well, that's my question. So I accept what you said just now, Kevin, but my assumption was that the existing spaces that we have, if you've interpreted it to the unused thing, that's fine by me as well. But I'm just thinking everything I've heard in the past, given my checkered history with the multiplex that Councillor Earl likes to dwell on, many of the ideas would just be in direct competition with our small businesses in town, such as gym and so on. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So it depends on what those would be, and I think that's to flush that out a bit of what.
It would be interesting to know what could be, but I don't want our small businesses to be affected negatively.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Councillor Apollonio?
Thank you, Worship.
I
think this is also again for Ryan. I just want to ask one last question regarding the city gateway signage planning, because I think the old one has a Rotary emblem or logo. Are we tying up also with this one or with other organizations so it will be cheaper?
Through your worship, to Councillor Apollonio, I think right now we're in the very preliminary design phase or concepts based off of the signage guidelines strategy and designs that you approved already. So this is really the next steps of what could your entrance gateway signs look like, and we have a couple of we have 2 preliminary designs for your feedback, input, consideration. I think from that and what we hear from that at the committee of the whole when we do that will lead us, to one version, and then we would need to go through the next iterations of the design, finalizing design, all the structural, all the sort of stuff, and at the same time would be having the conversation, which you'll see in the report when it comes to you, that Rotary, it is our belief, because we can't find anything written, that Rotary International Local helped either put the signs up and paid for themselves or contributed to the city to put them in, etc. And a conversation with those organized with Rotary would need to be held at the same time and have conversations to see what that might look like or what their involvement may be, etc. at that time. Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Apollonio. Thanks, Ryan. Any other discussion? No. I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. A break for lunch, probably only like 20 minutes or so. Then we'll be back in here. 12:40. For Monday, January 12th, 2026, back to order. Next order of business was 10 bylaws, nothing in bylaws. Next 11 mayor's update, so I'll just give a brief update here. I just wanted to spend a little time talking about the George Dawson Inn craft market, but also with the Miss Nevins class fundraiser. So this was right before Christmas. We just heard that a couple classes in Central took it upon themselves to start a fundraiser to help raise some funds for families in need. So we heard about that, and then went down there and met with Mrs. Nevins' class, so just about the fundraiser and what they were doing. But I can't remember specifically how many families, but it was pretty phenomenal to see our youth take the initiative to do this. So I just went down there and really thanked them and spent an hour with them. Actually, they had a lot of questions around the city stuff, so it was really a big highlight. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the teachers that were involved, but also those students. But also when I was there, I met a young teenager, Corbin, who just has like a phenomenal story, but he's a little entrepreneur and he's got a goal of opening a coffee shop downtown. And so right now he's raising money to buy this big coffee maker, which is not a normal household one. It's a lot more sophisticated than that. So he started a company called Brew and Burn, which is a candle company, and he's selling these candles in order to raise money for his coffee shop. So it was just a really neat story when he was explaining it to me. And then, so I ended up going on the weekend, that same weekend, the George Dawson Craft Market was happening and he was set up down there. So, it was just, I really wanted to just give a shout out to him and to that whole class, but it was just a phenomenal experience. And it just made me really proud to be in this role in the mayor of the city, to see like our youth just going out of the way to, one, help those in need, but then two, to also, just get inspired by their visions and goals, and especially this Corbin kid, where he's going. And it was phenomenal. So I went down to the George Dawson Inn and maybe purchased a few candles from him, but he had quite the display and he packaged them up and it was awesome. But there was also a lot of vendors down there too. There must have been 30 plus vendors in there. So it was just, it was great to see. It was a pretty cold day, so that might have been impacted a little bit, the traffic, but it was, I think overall, to me, it was really good. The following day, there was a Christmas performance at South Peace School, which I was invited to by, it was actually really neat. It was a few different organizations that put it on, and I'm not going to say them because I will miss one for sure, but it was dance and arts and music, the Choral Society. There was a whole bunch that, for the first time, they came together and did an event. Usually they were doing separate one-offs, but they did it together, and it was so amazing. Like, they had a schedule. It was like every 10, 15, 20 minutes they had a new play or different activity going on, but they also had a market set up in the kind of like the cafeteria area when you walk into South Peace. So that was neat too. It was just it really blew me away actually, just walking in there. I was just caught back on how well it was done, but then once I learned a little bit more about it, and it was just phenomenal to see community come together. And it wasn't about one group having more of the spotlight than the other. It was about like, how do we do this together to offer something for our communities? So I just really want to give a shout out to whoever those organizers were, because to see that and, put your own self-will and direction to side and do the overall better thing for the region was clearly done there, and it was noticeable. So Rotary Manor, we did the door decorating event. It was right before Christmas. Councillor MacDonald and myself, just the two of us, and it was so amazing. I mean, anytime you get to spend up there, it's phenomenal. But just the work that was done into all the doors, and we had one gentleman that was following us around, and he put a lot of effort into his doors. So it was, Well, he was at first, especially at first. Yeah, he was Yeah, I think he maybe paid off Councillor MacDonald. I don't know what happened there. I kind of left. But no, it was just amazing to, one, just to see, how the Rotary Manor team, like the whole staff, the volunteers up there, how they make that facility feel like home to the residents that are in there. And it really is, I don't know. For me, you go up there and you get to experience it, but you just have a real, feel real grateful afterwards for life, and to be able to help and contribute to the residents up there, having a little bit better of a day. It's a pretty easy couple hours. Like it's so inspiring. So yeah, just a shout out to them and all of them, and Councillor MacDonald too for joining. That after, I think that was around the same time actually, MP Zimmer had an open house at lunch right after, so we stopped by there and just said hi to him. It was kind of an open house and invited a bunch, so just stopped in for a visit and wished everybody their holiday wishes. And regional hospital district meeting. I had a meeting. There was a few of the leadership team from Northern Health that did a tour through. So they just had a meeting at the hospital. I attended, same with Director Hebert attended as well. I wasn't too sure what it was about. It was really just an update from them, but it was also a good opportunity for me to express some of the concerns and the good things that are happening in this area, but some of the concerns that we're hearing. But also, they did commit that they're going to try and do this twice a year. So moving forward now, kind of knowing what it is, I'll put the invite out to council as well on the next one to attend. So the Koi Cup, we had a presentation on that this morning, so I won't touch on that. They did come meet with me a couple weeks ago, so I just wanted to have that in here. Meals for You lunch, I just wanted to give a shout out to, there's a group of ladies that I think it's every Tuesday. And I always say I know it's every Tuesday, but there might be more days. But they get together and they cook meals for seniors from everything you can imagine, and then they deliver them. So I think last week, I can't remember what they said. It were over 90 meals they cooked, and then they deliver it to different seniors in the community. So just wanted to give a shout out to them for the work they do, and they spend a lot of time. There's, I believe, 6 or 7 of them that volunteer their time, and they, dedicate. I believe it's more than Tuesday, but I know Tuesday for sure. They dedicate the whole day to cooking for seniors and those in need. So I just want to give a shout out, and they do it just really just to give back. They don't wave a flag or anything. They just so it's really phenomenal to see these community groups doing stuff like this to help. So. And then Northern Lights College, I had a meeting, or went for lunch actually with them about a month ago or so. So just one update I wanted to give on there is it's very clear with, the colleges in British Columbia that enrollment is a struggle. And we're seeing that throughout the province. But I just wanted to give a shout out to our college here because they're very proactive and they're very much about our region and community. And they've shifted gears a lot and made a lot of, adjustments with some of the struggles that they've faced. But because of that, their enrollment is actually up and significantly up, which is they might be one of the only ones in British Columbia that is growing. So, they have some, in the international student side, it's definitely down. But in the domestics and the local region or community members, it's actually up significantly. So it was, just something I thought I would share with everybody. I think I touched on everything I wanted to there. Any questions on any of that? No? All right. Next, 11.2. We have a delegation request from the Dawson Creek seniors. So their ask was for $3,500. I don't think we've used anything out of our grant budget this year, but I did want to say, I'm not sure, if, I don't know if council is in favor of supporting this. I am, but I don't know if the thought was maybe if we gave a couple thousand from the grant fund and topped it up from the economic development fund is what my thoughts kind of were, but I'll leave that to council to put something forward. So, Councillor Parslow?
Well, I will support your suggestion. The big kicker for me is this is a local team, and it's something that we should have had before, but we haven't, and we should support it because I think it will keep more people maybe focused on our local hockey teams as well as the big events, right?
Yeah.
And it might just revitalize minor hockey a bit here. And they see brothers or dads or uncles playing competitive hockey like that. It's
Yeah.
good. So I see a spin-off being significant, and that's why I will support it.
Okay.
So it's as per your thoughts.
Will you make the motion?
Couple of $1,000 from our grant,
Okay.
topped up to $1,500 from economic development budget.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Second, Councillor MacDonald. Any discussion? Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess just one question based on the motion, and I'm sorry to be litigious, but we do have a budget in front of us, and I'm just wondering, with respect to the economic development, $50,000 that could potentially be reallocated towards a contract position. That decision's not going to be made until February. How will that impact this decision if it goes ahead?
Yeah, so through your worship, you're correct, that still needs to be resolved. I would say at this juncture, the 1,500, was it 1,500 out of there?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not an issue, but I think just being mindful of if there's subsequent ones, they can add up. So I think in the short term, it's not a problem until we resolve that.
Yeah, and I guess that's something we're going to have to be mindful of until the budget's final. In years past, we have, depending on the nature of the event and the degree to which there was some knock-along benefit to the local tourism, hospitality, or the image of the city, supplemented some grants through the Economic Development Fund, and I guess that potentially is no longer going to be an option. Or I guess is something that
Council will have to think about, yeah.
an ECDev officer would have to be in on those conversations. Anyway, just wanted to raise that point, but I'm fine to support this. I agree with the sentiment expressed by Councillor Parslow.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, I think Councillor Earl's raised a very interesting point. There are alternative ways of funding this. It just depends on the appetite, I think, of our selves about how flexible we want to be. We do know that there was a significant surplus at the year end in our economic development budget, I believe. And so why couldn't we see if our CFO's opinion about using $1,500 from our operating surplus from 2025 to fund this? Because I have, just as a foreshadowing, right, I really do think we need to move ahead with some, as a project, the passenger service at the airport and marketing our airport. And at a future meeting, I want to put forward that use of some of that ECDev money left over from last year to fund that. But that's nothing to do with this motion. That's just a foreshadowing, right? But I would like, if Melissa's heard what I've said, what is your opinion about that?
So through your worship to Councillor Parslow, I mean, is it possible? Yes. It does become, it could become rather onerous on tracking those items and then continually to be like, because then what we need to do is we need to budget a $1,500 deficit. Because that's how we take from reserves. We don't have a line item. I mean, even if it got brought up into revenue, which theoretically it is, but essentially to use reserves, you need to budget a deficit to then use it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and we did do that previously when we looked at the Hockey Canada event and also the art mural. Last year, we did budget a deficit specifically because in operating, they didn't fulfill the contracts and they needed to carry that forward. But that was just 2 items and they were larger dollar figures, but as you're tracking those, it does become a more complicated add-on to an already process that is kind of big in itself. There also is within the ECDEV budget, regardless of the contract and potentially moving away and taking budgeted dollars to support that position, we did maintain a $10,000 mayor budget. So there is that we left untouched, but whether what you want to do with that becomes a decision of the mayor. But I just wanted for you to know that. But taking items from reserve is a possibility. If you start to take from them when you're not replenishing, that also is a concern. But we saw that last year when we budgeted a deficit specifically within certain funds with the paving, and then we dipped into the water one as well to fund that big project. And then just explaining that, because then, all 3 funds are in a deficit and what's happening at the city. So it's definitely understanding that and being able to communicate that and to what it's planned. For $1,500, that's small. So I wouldn't recommend going into that detail and that much for that small of an amount. We budget and we practice an envelope-based budget. And so to make that up over our budget as a whole is very small.
You good, Councillor Parslow?
That's over to you. You're going to give 1,500 of your 10,000?
Well, I didn't know that I had.
Well, now you do.
Yeah, I'm assuming that is for this office and not just from me, but from this council. We do a lot of things throughout the year as thank yous to some community service organizations, whether that's RCMP or fire, school, hospitals. Like, we've done a lot of things, and I'm assuming that's probably where that's kept in there for that reason, is something that we wanted to do, or I wanted to at the initial, when I first got in here. So I'm assuming that's why that's in there, but.
It's always a third alternative.
What?
Third alternative is to add 1,500 to our draft budget in economic development, make it 11,500.
I think I'm fine with the way it is. I mean, if when we decide in February, or when we go through these budgets, and that like the fifth, as long as we keep an eye on this moving forward, $1,500 isn't going to make or break where that's going. So, Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was going to say the same thing, listening to our CFO speak there, that the most simple way for us to do that is just to take it for the ECDEV now and figure it out at a later time for such a nominal small fee, right?
Yeah.
Just leave it as it is.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Any other discussion? No? I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, 11.3, we have the delegation from South Peace Art Society. Their request to increase their funding to add $120,000 to their funding.
Yeah, so through your worship, that would be with what they had prior, that'd be just about 160, just shy of that, I think, right around there.
Yeah. Councillor Earl?
A couple questions. So that $18,000 top up from last year that they requested, was that going to be in perpetuity, or was that a one-off? At the time, I assume it's going to be folded into the existing ask in perpetuity, but did we schedule that as
Through your worship to Councillor Earl, I can confirm that was ongoing support.
okay, so $40,000-ish is the base, and then they're asking for another 120 on that. Just out of curiosity, because I assume these figures are laid out in the art gallery's lease agreement with the city, when does that come up for renewal?
we'll have to just take a quick look and see. what
Okay,
that-
sorry, I'll turn the floor over to council.
You betcha.
Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. This is kind of off a little bit, but do any of our fee-for-services have any built-in inflationary increases to them?
No.
Through your worship to Councillor MacDonald, they do not, and they haven't for quite a while, but I did already note it for a draft 2 budget item or potentially the 5-year financial plan, but I think I would not presume to do that without council direction.
Through your worship, I mean, this is part of the challenge for these groups, right? As they've
Yes.
said, they've had a static, and they're not the only one.
No.
And we've gone through, in the last 5 years, 6 years, some of the highest inflation we've seen in decades. So you can understand the pressures that they're facing, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, I mean, some quick math at a 2% increase each year for inflation, right? They'd be at least sitting at 26,000 right now, right? Almost 27 instead of still at 21, right? It would, I mean, it doesn't take all the pressure off, but it would at least help, even if nothing else, just with wages for these groups, right? That are mostly volunteer based, but have to maintain some type of wage to keep themselves open and operating properly and taking care of what I agree with Councillor Parslow, are very valuable assets of our region and community, right?
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, when we deal with other entities around funding and money that they put forward, insufficient as it is, whatever they do, we basically have been saying, well, that needs to be adjusted annually. I'm thinking regional district here. You know, we feel that they should adjust whatever they do to support recreation, insufficient as it is, should be adjusted. So if we believe that's a just thing, then it should be natural that our fees for service should be adjusted. Yeah. We shouldn't be hypocrites. In other words, I'm not saying we're intentionally hypocrites. You guys are not like that. But you know what I'm trying to say? We expect it. We petition for it. And we should treat our own people the same way. I think the choice between the council has actually is, well, what sort of art gallery do you want? Do you want it closed half the year? Do you want it closed 3 days a week? Do you want it to curtail programming for kids? What do you want? Because what I heard is, and I think we all agree and know, that grants are becoming more difficult to acquire. Now, this is a philosophical position I have about everything, right? Is really, we should provide core funding for all our entities, whether it's the Memorial Arena, the multiplex, and so on, so they can deliver a core base level of service. Above that should be dependent upon their own fundraising or their success for grants, but we should have a core-based program. Well, the art gallery is a major attraction. That whole NAR part is a major attraction. It's a staging point, it's a gathering point. But we need to think about, well, what do we want to happen there? Do you want it running in the summer 7 days a week? Certain hours? Do you want it to shut in the winter part-time? But again, if you shut, then you lose staff. And you get to the challenges associated. There's consequences for every action. There's a consequence. So I'm with the art gallery from the point of view of saying, they haven't said this, so this is me saying that they should receive funding from the city sufficient for their core program. What is their core program needs to be something that needs to be discussed. And so I'm thinking this needs to be referred back to a future council meeting after there's been some discussion about options. Right now, we've been given notice that there's a funding issue. We need to have a chance as a council to say, well, if we give you this, what would be delivered? If we give you this, what? At least we're making an informed decision. Right now, thanks to their presentation, you're all aware that there's an issue. I would like to move that we defer any decisions on this until we have received a report on funding needed for various core functioning options. By that I mean open so many days in the summer, winter,
What services, yeah.
Because, I mean, one thing that I really appreciate about this council is you do care. You know what I mean? You do care about the community, and therefore we want instinctively to support everybody, but we've got challenges around finances. We should be making informed decisions about what it looks like, rather than just saying, oh, here's 140, or here's tough, here's 25.
Is that a
What are the
motion?
implications? So I
The
make
first
that-
part is a motion.
Yeah.
Somebody like a second? Councillor MacDonald? Did you guys,
To defer to a future.
did you catch? Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Wasn't meaning to cut you off. I was wanting to get a seconder so we could keep going.
That's all
So,
right.
Councillor Earl?
I have no problem deferring this to get some more information. I do want to make note that the paradigm that Councillor Parslow is proposing could potentially open a pretty big can of worms, because what we do for one of these organizations, we are going to be expected to do for all of them. And as we've learned over recent years, as we've tried to standardize these lease agreements, that's difficult enough in and of itself, given the unique nature of every organization and the services they provide. Also, I think at the heart of this is I would very much like for the art gallery to operate to its fullest potential. I'd very much like for KPAC to operate to their fullest potential. I'd very much like local ICE users to be able to operate to their full potential. How are we going to pay for this? Because we just approved the draft of a budget that I had a very, very hard time voting in favor of, given the increase in taxes. And doing some bar napkin math, we're looking at least another 1% to 2% on that if we give everybody what they want. So anyway, yeah, if we want to defer till later, but I'm just wondering, I guess my point is, are we just deferring for this one organization, or are we opening a bigger can of worms around what this kind of approach looks like for every organization?
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Melissa?
Through your worship to council, just for information's sake, with the two additional requests this meeting from both the art gallery and the Calvin Kirk Art Center, it is a percent that would be needed to make up the approximately 230,000 or 228, sorry. So just for information's sake.
Thank you. I have some thoughts on this. I mean, obviously, I'm going to tie both of them in because they're both very similar. They're both art societies, but I go back to Councillor Parslow's comments earlier today about like almost needing like a review of what arts and culture look like in the whole community, and we have two facilities. So like I respect these organizations and what they do, and I don't want to take that away from the community, but I'm going to have a really hard time approving any more funding to anything until we have a bigger picture of what this looks like. We have two facilities that are they're instrumental for our community and who we are and our future. And until I have like a clear understanding of what that looks like and how they work together, I don't know. I can see like short-term helping, but to have like a long-term commitment in my eyes, I would need to understand what that looks like. How do we get the best out of those facilities? Some things are done here and there, but I guess just a bigger picture of understanding how it looks. So, I am fine deferring it. It's a lot of money, and I don't know how we could make that decision today without having some more information. But yeah, I guess for me, just moving forward, I would want to know more than just the one organization. What the community, I think, like you said earlier, Councillor Parslow, is what the community wants to see in arts and culture, and having those facilities. So yeah, just my thoughts on it. But Councillor Parslow.
Yes, to Finance Officer, you said, what was the name of the other organization that requested additional money for this year? Was it CAPAC?
Yeah, it was right after the next delegation they requested 100,000.
Did they? I missed that altogether.
Yeah.
So they requested 100,000, and the only thing I remember was the 70,000 that they owe us.
Yeah, so through your worship, what I noted was they talked about the loan repayment. If we wish to have it repaid, they could pay it in monthly installments. And then at the end, they said that if we want to see anything beyond what they're providing today for services, they would need an additional $100,000. If we're happy with the status quo, which is doing what they're doing, then they can survive. That was...
Okay, I must have been in another thought pattern for that. I remember the 70,000, right? Yes, so that makes the Mayor's comments even more poignant now that I understand that. So I know I'll keep my comments about CAPAC till we get onto that in the agenda, but the South Peace Art Society request, again, I think before you make any decisions, whether it's permanent or temporary, you want to know the consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, and so I think my notion that we defer it would be after there's some consultation, and what would it look like with no further fee-for-service elevation, assuming that the 18,000, right, married to the previous amount. Yeah, I think we need to know what it would look like, and then at least you'll be making an informed decision, right? Again, every action has a consequence, and so, yeah, are there others? Well, we know the fee-for-services we have, apart from CAPAC, we have it with the Historical Society, with the Mile Zero Society, with the library for fee-for-service?
They run the library.
Is that what you call it, fee-for-service? Okay. Anything else? I don't think if there's anything else.
I think,
I think through your worship, Councillor Parslow, I think that all of our lease agreements that we have are essentially a fee for service. It's the determining the level of either financial cash we're giving in as a grant or a subsidy by we're paying in some cases 85% of the expenses, and they're paying us back 15, so we're subsidizing them that way. And some have that as well, like the art gallery. They also additionally, on top of that, they received $21,000. So each one of our lease agreements is a little bit different, but essentially, library, historical society, MOPS, Dawson Creek Exhibition Association, library, all of them are all, I would say, a fee for service.
Right. Now, it didn't, in the budget, preliminary budget, didn't we already accommodate an increase at the library? We did.
20 grand.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah. Anyway, I think the motion still is.
The motion right now is to defer until we get this information. Okay.
Yeah.
So any discussion around that? Councillor Earl?
I guess, does staff have enough information on us with respect to what information we're looking for in order to circle back around?
So, Your Worship, what I understand, listening to the conversation is we're going to defer it. We need to know from the society what level of service they will provide if we do not grant them any additional funds. And then maybe a couple of options within what they currently have up to what their ask is, including their ask. And so we have maybe 3 or 4 options of saying at this level of support, this is what you will receive. And that will give council options. You know, it's not all or nothing. Maybe there's some in between. Again, just understanding what that could look like. That's what we would ask.
That is part of it, but Councillor Parslow also touched on, I guess, in his worship too, a larger conversation about KPAC, the interplay between those organizations, the community's needs. I mean, if it, like I said, when I said big can of worms, I wasn't kidding, because it's not just KPAC and the art gallery. The public library also does arts and crafts stuff for kids. The Exhibition Association, during the exhibition, they host some tents that could be for kids doing things that could be construed as arts and culture. The city of Dawson Creek itself has been more active in offering various classes and workshops for young people and community members to do. So this is, I think, a bigger conversation than we fully appreciate, and I'm worried we're jumping into the deep end without appreciating that.
Through your worship, I think I don't disagree with the talk about the planning piece. I think council may have to make a decision on the short term, i.e. 26, and you may want to do a planning piece in 26. Well, that will inform you moving forward into 27. What I hear, that's probably a separate decision on this arts and culture scan, assessment, kind of trying to really understand what is happening in the community, who's delivering what, is there gaps, are there duplications, you know, is there efficiencies, all of that. And then coming out of that will then drive a whole other set of decisions that'll need and work that'll have to happen. But I guess decisions may need to be made sooner, and then that'll be a subsequent piece.
Okay.
Understanding that the decision you make now is in the interim.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Any other discussion on this motion?
Another alternative is that we prune other budgets. We stop doing certain things. I know we're going to talk about that later, but I'm just saying. And then the other is as well, we could reverse the regime that's set up 85%, 15%, you know what I mean, the payment of utilities. That's another way of making things easier for them. So there's a variety of ways of skinning it. I mean, as you know, I'm all for cutting certain things. We do need to think about that, because obviously some core functions in prime facilities are struggling. And, you know, I won't dwell on some of the suggestions. I'll leave that to this afternoon or later on.
Okay. Everybody good on the motion that's on the floor? All right, I'm going to call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, 11.4 with the request from the Kiwanis Performing Arts Center. So I guess there's two requests there we got to deal with. One is what we want to do with the agreement on the debt. And then there was another ask for 100,000 moving forward.
Yeah, Your Worship, again, I think the ask for the financial contribution is, just so council's clear, that's what they were trying to present to you today was based on what they heard in October from you, is that council would like to see expanded delivery of services in the facility. And they're saying, if you want us to do that, then that comes with a price tag. And that's specifically what we asked for them to do. So they've done that. So council needs to decide whether they want to go down that road or stay the status quo for the short term until, if you do consider doing this arts and culture assessment. So.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to make a motion that we as a council and city forgive the $70,000 loan. And at least with that, well, I'll wait for a seconder, sorry.
Councillor Earl. Go ahead, Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you. My thought on that, the executive director mentioned that would help free up capital funds for them to begin their efforts in expanding their offerings. They've got what I thought was a great strategic plan for 2026. And if we can give them just that little bit of freedom of $3,100 a month to invest into beginning that strategic plan, I think that's an easy part. As far as $108,000 in increased operating funds, again, that's, I think, something that we need to delay a decision on till we truly see what their intent would be for offerings with that money. And they should be able to come up with, in my opinion, revenue generating programming there that we shouldn't necessarily, as a community and taxpayer base, be subsidizing right off the bat. We're already subsidizing that building quite a bit. I think there's opportunities for them to come up with revenue generating programming.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm fine to support and I guess we'll have to make a separate motion after the fact to defer the second piece of it because they're two separate motions. Or
Yeah, let's deal with this one now.
Okay.
We'll deal with the second part next.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think that gives them breathing room until we can land on how we'd like to proceed with the larger conversation. I would also note, with respect to the $100,000, I think that was based off the 36% average Serena cited about the canvas of the average public support. So, I mean, I don't know if that's specifically tied to any particular programs they have in mind, and as we dig into that, it might change, but I think the $70,000 is obviously, you never want to be perceived as rewarding people for, basic financial due diligence, but the board has, I think, come a pretty long way in addressing some of the deficiencies that landed them in that tight spot. And I think, I would, similar to what Councillor MacDonald said, like to see what they're capable of if they're not having to undermine their capacity by paying it back at $3,100 a month.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Before I get Councillor Parslow, that funds that we lent them initially, was that out of reserves or surplus, or where was that at, and where does that hit the income statement?
So through your worship, it is right now, it's sitting on the balance sheet as a loan receivable. And it would have come as a late item after the budget. So it didn't hit the 2026 budget, but it's really just sitting on the balance sheet for financial statement
Okay.
purposes. So it would just be removed as an asset and show up as an expense.
Okay. Councillor Parslow?
And to add to what you just said, would have no impact on the tax requirements for this year.
Through your worship to Council Parslow, that would be correct, because there was no budget impact on the cash flow back yet because it wasn't due.
Okay. Thank you.
So this morning we had two organizations, one coming to you before there's a crisis, quite open, quite transparent, and the other organization quite the opposite in its history. So we reward the organization where there was not necessarily that transparency or due diligence or whatever. I can't say. I have problems with that one. If there were some other extenuating factors, I might consider it. The other problem I have with the motion is that it's an open check, basically. Do whatever you want as long as you work through your strategic plan. Just like some of the problems I've had with some other decisions where you've given some money but no strings attached to it. I think there should be some expectations, very clear expectations. Not just working on which parts of that do we think, of their strategic plan, do we want to see some sound evidence of accomplishment by the year end? Okay? I have no confidence, absolutely no confidence. It's easy to have things put on the board, but what's actually going to happen? I think part of their strategic plan is still, I think, flawed. I do believe the childcare should be contracted out completely separate, the facility rented. You can't have staff, if they're going to be really promoting and developing this cultural centre, also having to manage their time's going to be divided, let's put it that way. So I don't like that aspect of their strategic plan. So I think I will be voting against this because it's lacks specificity of what we want them to accomplish. Which areas do we want them to work on first? Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. I was just going to respond to Councillor Parslow's statement that we're giving it money, no strings attached. When we originally gave this board the $70,000, they were given a list of parameters and requirements associated with the money at that point, which I believe they've accomplished. Maybe not in as timely a fashion as we would have liked, but they did accomplish the requirements we had for the loan of the money. And I just don't see it as us giving $70,000 with no strings attached. I just disagree with that statement.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Any other discussion? Everybody's clear on the motion? All right, I'm going to call this motion to vote.
Your worship, just to be clear, I believe it's 75,000, not 70. So
Okay.
Sorry, through your worship, and because if this motion passes, the agreement for such loan would then be terminated. So if council's okay, if we add that to the end of the recommendation.
That it'll be terminated?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the agreement on the loan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reporting conditions should still be there in effect.
Okay, we won't add that to the end of the end of the motion. That sounds good.
Thank you.
Everybody's good? Okay, I'm going to call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Councillor Apollonio, Councillor Parslow are opposed. All right, second part of their request. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. Similar to the deferral Councillor Parslow proposed regarding the art gallery, I'd move that we defer discussion on increasing the annual subsidy until we receive, I don't know how you'd like me to phrase this, Kevin, a more comprehensive plan around cultural and artistic offerings in the city of Dawson Creek.
Well, and I guess now like waiving the debt too, what does that mean for the
That
services
gives-
moving
yeah.
forward?
Yeah.
As is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is your council, this motion would mean no additional funding for Kiwanis Performing Arts Society until we have the plan conducted and have a better sense of how we want to look at that.
Yeah, how we want to allocate our limited resources among various organizations that are offering, in some instances, complementary or potentially competing services.
Yep.
So that's the motion. And second, Councillor Sudnick. You good on that? I understand the intent of it, but I would not, and the intent, but I would not be the one wording it.
Tab could put psychic on her resume moving forward, and it would not be entirely inappropriate. Mind reader. And how often we ask her to read our minds.
She gets it. You can tell by the expressions on her face. She knows it all. What you're thinking. Are you good, Tab, on the motion? Okay. Any questions? Discussion? I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. All right, that was all from delegations, I believe. 12, Chief Administrative Officer, or operational update.
Good afternoon, thank you. Couple quick updates, all relating to weather. When we were preparing the agenda, we were waist deep in snow. So I wanted to bring some information on what we spent in the month of December on snow plowing and snow removal, because it was an exceptional month. So when we look at city forces plowing snow, city forces plowing in the downtown, contractors hired to plow snow, contractors hired to haul snow, things like that. In the month of December, we spent just over $450,000 on snow. And is that a lot, you might say? Well, it is. Our budget for 2025 for those same related items was $348,000 for the entire year. And so we spent roughly $700,000. So we doubled our snow plowing budget in 25, primarily because of December. I was fully anticipating we were going to spend maybe not that much, but another significant chunk in January. And I think we will in some regards. Of course, as you all know what's been happening over the last couple of days, it's going to shift probably more into some steaming, trying to manage some water, but we're going to still have to deal with piles of snow, widening streets, and dealing with all those problematic areas that we didn't get to when we were just trying to really maintain access to a lot of areas. So again, I think everybody did a great job. Honestly, having access for that kind of surge with contractors is critical for us. Had we not had an extra 3 or 4 graders, depending on the day, working alongside us, you think about where we'd be at. On a day like today, we'd have a number of residential streets that vehicles would not be able to get through. So we're thankful for that. But that comes with a price. That's just the nature of the business we're in. So, so that's where we're at, and we'll see where the coming months go. We were talking about terminology on weather, on whether it's an atmospheric river or it's a heat dome or a weather bomb or whatever. So this is called whiplash weather. It's actually a term that they use to describe going from winter to false spring, and in a week we'll be back to winter. And we have experienced a few of these. The worst one was about 4 years ago at exactly this time, when we had a very sudden melt, and we weren't as far ahead as we were this go around, and we had a lot of challenges. The reality is that this is what is happening, and this weather is, as nice as some people may view it, is extremely hard on the infrastructure. These temperature changes cause pipes underground to flex. It causes asphalt to be beat up pretty bad because now you've got water all over it. Pothole season is going to be exceptional this year. Just warning you now, it's going to be a challenge. So this sort of stuff really wreaks havoc. So, but that's, like I've said before, we can't control it. We just try and manage it as best we can. So, yeah, any questions?
No, none at all. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Worship. First off, I commend you and the city team. What a great job they've done. I think for those that do follow some of the forums on social media, the general consensus is that Dawson Creek sure does a much better job than our neighbors. And our teams work long hours. They work hard, and it shows. I think, grand scheme of it all, I know how many days I spent shoveling my driveway. Never mind having to maintain 70 kilometers of streets within the city limits.
We have about 110 kilometers.
110
so
kilometers.
220 lane kilometers.
220 lane kilometers. That is a massive bit of lineage to try and keep clear. So, great job. My question is, when we do get into the steaming and hydrovac, does that stay on the snow removal budget, or does it move over to just public works budget?
Yeah, so that moves over to specifically drainage and steam
line items,
those sort of things.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had steamers out, and we will to deal with this in the short term. And it looks like Saturday, Sunday, it's supposed to cool off again and go -10. And so then we're going to be stuck with a bunch of ice underneath, any new snow we get or anything like that. Sidewalks are going to be challenging because the snow banks are melting and going onto the sidewalk. And today it's water, but in a day or
Tomorrow
two it might be ice. So everybody needs to be cognizant of that. And that's going to be a challenge for crews. We really, when you have that layer of ice, it's very difficult to get that off of the surface. So it'll be tough.
My other question was to do with the Kiskatna. We had a very cold December as well. Did the Kiskatna keep flowing the whole time?
Yes, it did actually, and so that's been a positive for sure. I think the snow has helped insulate things, and so we saw flows continue at a reasonable rate, which enabled us to keep reservoirs full.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Parslow.
Well, yes, I concur with Councillor MacDonald about how it was managed and how the snow removal occurred. But it does beg the question of do we have a Cadillac snow removal system, given the extreme costs of having our road snow removal system compared to other communities? Could some of that money that we spent in snow removal be used around quality of life issues? Mm-hmm. Difficult discussion, difficult decision making. No criticism intended whatsoever. It's just a question. Because I was in Grand Prairie and Fort St. John at the same time. And I'm not talking residential. I'm talking places where there's all sorts of shopping. In fact, I think it was just the other day, wasn't it? Last week, I phoned you and said I was in Fort St. John, and on 101st Avenue, and I could hardly pass because the snow was so high in the road, right? And it was a business frontage area. But as you know, I spent a lot of time in Fort St. John and quite a bit in Grand Prairie for different reasons. And we certainly have a much more robust, and I'm just saying, if it was dialed down a bit, would we have more money to apply to some of the issues we've just been discussing? I hope it's been taken in the I'm right behind you guys. We do have policy. You've done a great job, but I'm just wondering. When I lived in Dawson Creek, I was told the snow removal mechanism in residential areas was called the Chinook. We dug ourselves out, right? Yeah. So I just throw that out. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Any comments, Councillor Earl?
Thank you. I'd like similarly to compliment city staff on their work. Just to inform the conversation Councillor Parslow's having, our annual snow removal budget is about $750,000 is what we budget, or is it more than that? Or less, sorry.
Go ahead.
Less?
It's like 5 something.
5 something? Okay.
Through your worship, so the snow removal contracts is only 118, but if we total the total budget for snow removal and snow plowing, it's just over 200,000. But there's also an additional 150,000 that was added to reference the figure that Kevin was giving for sanding supplies, but that would be for the rock.
Okay. And in most years, we are at that or under it.
Yeah.
This is an anomalous year. And in years where we come in under it, it presumably goes into operational reserves.
Yeah, the challenge with December was the ongoing snow.
Yes.
And without having a break. If we have time spaced out, then we don't need to bring in necessarily
it
the
doesn't
surge help
increase
because
the surge.
we can catch up with our own forces, which helps greatly. But when it keeps coming, and so we had to kind of continually to ramp up that additional support. Otherwise, we would have had people stuck in spots. So we were trying to avoid that.
Yeah, I think Councillor Parslow's point, having reduced the budget likely wouldn't have helped us in this, or changing policy wouldn't, because at a certain point it does become a public health.
Yeah, so
piece.
our current snow plowing policy says that
After 18 centimeters?
after a certain
or-
amount of snow, we'll aspire to have the entire town cleaned up by, I can't remember, 7 or 9 days or something along those lines. And the reality is you're not in our situation in December. You're not going to make that with just 2 graders or even maybe 4. We probably would have been hard to tell whether we did that because of the ongoing snow with everybody we had, because we kept going back. And but in the end, I'm very thankful we did, because on days like today when this weather changed, had we not only would people be stuck, we would have drainage issues everywhere. Not that we don't have issues, but they would be exponentially worse if we hadn't got some of these streets cleaned off.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we've talked about it in the past. No matter how well you fund a snow removal program, in some people's eyes, it's never going to be enough when you have the need for it. And, other times it's going to be seen as wasteful or opulent. But, okay, thank you.
Yep, thanks, Councillor Earl. Thanks, Kevin. I echo what Councillor MacDonald said, just to the team, yourself and the team, but also to being proactive and keeping up on all of this in December is, if we weren't that proactive and saved some funds, then we'd be spending it all right now trying to make it so you could get around in our community. So, so okay, thank you and good job.
Thanks.
Next, that was all you had, right, Kevin? Yeah. Diary, anything from the diary? Consent calendar, anybody want to lift anything from the consent calendar? I did want to tab speak to number 6 on the consent calendar, so do I need a motion to lift it? I'll make the motion to lift 6. Second, Councillor Earl. Do I need to call that to vote before I speak? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to call that to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Yeah, I just wanted to comment on number 6, just from Nikki Sharma's office, the Attorney General, just on our meeting at UBCM, but also encouraging us to build our discussions in relationship with the BC Prosecution Service. So because this came to the consent calendar, I'm assuming nothing will be done with that, but I'd like to direct the team to reach out to set up a meeting with Laurie Stevens, because I think if there's something we can learn, or especially myself, if there's something I can learn, and she's recommending that, I would like to do that. So do we need a separate motion? Okay. So I'll make that motion that we direct the city team to reach out to Laurie Stevens with the BC Prosecution Services and in setting up a meeting with myself and council if wish. So second. Councillor MacDonald, any discussion on that? No.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay, I'll call that motion to vote. And I think that was carried. Yeah, it flashed really quick. I didn't see. It's carried? Yeah, okay. Anything else on the consent calendar? No? A motion to accept the consent calendar. Councillor MacDonald, second Councillor Earl. Call that to vote. Vote is closed. That's carried. All right. Next, media questions. Any questions? No. Thank you. Thank you for attending too, by the way, Rob. 16, recess to close meeting. So 16.1, need a resolution to move into the meeting of council closed to the public for agenda item 4.1, 5.1, 6.1, section 91C, labor relations or other employee relations. Agenda item 4.2, section 91E, the acquisition, disposition, or expiration of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality. Agenda item 5.1 and 6.1, section 91J, information that is prohibited or information that if it were presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. And agenda item 4.1, 5.1, and 6.1, Section 91K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at the preliminary stages and that, in the view of council, could reasonably be expected to harm the interest of the municipality if they were held in public. Councillor Sudnick, second Councillor Kempf. Call that to vote. Vote is closed. That's carried.